I mean, to clarify, I don't mean that I have it. I mean that I've received my booster. Yeah, I got my shots. I get all my shots. Canada, baby. Melatonin gummies? No, those don't work. I mean, melatonin does something, but it doesn't actually do the thing. Melatonin is not what you want. Unless you're under a very specific set of sleep hygiene and medication circumstances. You need that good shit. That good. That new card. Who's this? Hopeful Initiate. Nope, that's not the card that I wanted. Well, I know it's 1 mana. It's a 1 mana uncommon. 1 mana uncommon. Neither an enchantment nor a creature. 1 mana uncommon? Oh, this is going to be awkward. 1 mana uncommon. Oh, if you live in Kona, brother, then, you know. I mean, I got a lot of thoughts about melatonin. Mostly the prolonged usage of them and, some other stuff, but neither here nor there right now. Claim the Firstborn. That's one that I can think of. It is a 1 mana red instant. Reckless Rage. Oh! This card was dope. Saw some play in Standard. I'm sure it still sees some play in, like, dinosaur decks or whatever. Some Commander. Prohibition State, then hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta do what you gotta do. Blank of blank. Teferi's of protection. You may blank a blank while casting a blank. A white instant. Of blank of blank. And it's a white instant. Ooh. Mana? Mana cost. You may is it Force of Vigor? No. Flare of Oh, what the fuck? Is it Solitude? Flare of I forget what this flare's name is. I thought it was Solitude. It's something tude. Fortitude. Flare of Fortitude, right? Flare of Fortitude. All right. All right. Not bad. Not bad. Let's try the hard mode. Oh no. Big sneezing. Big sneezing. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. Ants. Vigilance. Nope. Oh, it's a vampire. Probably. If you do, draw a card. Well, you have to excuse me. My nose is runny. I'm not paying attention. Also, I shouldn't have this window open. All right, say goodbye, chat. Bye-bye. Ends with a V? How many words end with a V? What? Oh, Markov. Markov something. There's probably a card from like Crimson Vow, which means I'm going to have to use all of my letters. Because it's not patrician, right? Yeah. Markov. Penis delirious. I don't know. Markov. I'm just going to use all of these. What? Purifier? I don't remember this card at all. I legitimately do not remember this card exists. What? 3 mana, 2/3 lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, you can pay 2, and if you do, draw a card. These sets weren't real. These sets were not real. None of the sets that came out in like 2000 and like basically the like big pandemic sets were not real. They didn't happen. Or at least I wish some of them didn't happen. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm back. What are we doing today? Well, Aetherdrift is a Magic the Gathering set that is coming out shortly. In fact, oh, they changed how OBS works, or how it looks at least. In fact, this would be so much better if it was just immediately. Nope, that's the wrong one. Fuck. There's a PPR happening. There's a PPR happening for Aetherdrift. It's on not this Friday, but next Friday. It's a new set. There's a new set coming out, which is why we're talking about new cards. 2 weeks? No, it's literally like 1 week. It's been 1 week since you looked at me. It's on the 31st. Friday the 31st. We have special guests, Magic New Girl and Shivam. Just dropping Shivam. It'll be cool. You'll have to trust me. It's like a proper PPR. We got guests, we got money. You know, the things that you want. So we're going to be talking about Aetherdrift here because there are new cards. I am going to be talking about, I don't know, basically everything. Maybe not everything. I'm certainly going to be talking about all the cards that they have previewed that are rares and or mythics. I don't know how much time I'm going to spend on air response unit. Why does it feel like I haven't done this in forever? I did this for Foundations and Foundations Jumpstart. Why is my brain just like, talk about the cards, then the cards? I'm going to talk about Magic the Gathering cards that are going to be released. I am going to talk about them in through a critical lens for the formats that I like to play. I'm going to be talking about these cards through the lens of Canadian Highlander, Gladiator, and maybe Commander / Cube / Vibes sort of thing. I'm not necessarily talking about every card, but I am going to be talking about a lot of cards, good or bad. And I'm going to be going Wooburg. I'm going to be going Wooburg order. I'm also not going to be talking about anything that hasn't been officially previewed. All official previews. And I'm just going through what's on the card image gallery here. If we have time, I'm going to pull up like Mythic Spoiler or something and we can look at the other ones. But I'm just going off of what is here. I am not here to break NDAs. I really do not want to break NDAs. I'll also comment on some of the other things involving, like, in this set, some of the treatments. I haven't really done this for other ones, but I think I'd like to start doing it because it at least puts it in one spot. So if somebody's like, hey, what does Ben think of the yellow cards? And then I get to go, I said it right here. Take a look at this. That's nothing, but take a look at this. Are we ready? We've got cards. We might as well talk about them. Okay. This is not really a card I want to talk about. The Air Response Unit. It's just a limited card. But this style, that's a Schmander one, so maybe it's a little more biased. Maybe I'm a little more biased. But like, yeah. Like this style, these really colorful cards, I should, by all accounts, hate this. I should, by all accounts, you would imagine I would not enjoy this, right? It's very, it has a very specific vibe that does wonders for a very specific demographic. The people that like goon to anime, but they have enough social skills that they can actually, form a polycule, is like that type of demo. That said, these look great in person, especially in foil. And it's not necessarily card by card. Some of them look better than others for sure, but they look pretty great. Like the colors pop. The foiling is nice, and they are more or less legible, right? These at least do what I like for them to do. The text is the same. They fit into a magic border that exists outside of stylized cards, right? Like it is closer to an extended border or widescreen or whatever it's called. And they're not obnoxious, even though they are very colorful to the point of like parody at sometimes. But yeah, they are. I think they did it pretty well with this style. Big fan on that style. I'm going to talk about this card, then I'm going to talk about the other style attached to it. The first actual card I want to talk about is Basri, Tomorrow's Champion. 1 white for a 2/1 legendary creature, Human Knight. Pay a white and tap it. Exert Basri. Create a 1/1 white cat creature token with lifelink. If you forget how Exert works, basically the creature won't untap during your next untap step. Now, Exert is kind of funny when you give a card Vigilance and it says when it attacks you can exert it, because that's a templating that, imagines a creature tapping itself in order to attack. But exerting doesn't necessarily tap it. In this case, this ability taps it, which exerts him. So you exert Basri and you make a 1/1 cat token with lifelink. Basri also has Cycling. Cycling is back. Cycling for 2 and a white. When you cycle this card, cats you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. This is an interesting card because it's just a 1 mana 2 power white creature that happens to be a human, which is all pretty relevant. It's a 1 mana 2 power human in white that is a legendary that also has an ability that after its body becomes irrelevant on the board can start just pooping out more tokens with lifelink, right? You can start to go wide a little bit easier. Even if it exerts it, that's fine. That's just a lot for a 1 mana card being able to do. And it's not relevant for our formats too much, but it is kind of funny that like if your 1 mana creature has stuck it out and you draw a redundant copy, you can use that redundant copy to protect all your little kitties, right? That part's nice. But again, I'm mostly talking about these cards through singleton formats, so you're not going to have multiple copies. But even then, think about how many times you've been in a match in Canlander or in Gladiator where somebody's a Johnny flips and you're like, wait, why'd the oh fuck, I destroyed their lion sash. Or like, you know, they play the Ocelot Pride into the Johnny and you're just like, I don't know how to beat this. So there are cats that see play in the aggressive white decks in Canadian Highlander and Gladiator. So yeah, all around, the card isn't like winning any awards. And often I don't know how much it is going to be doing, but I also don't know how much you need it to do because it's a 1 mana card, right? It's a 1 mana card with a whole bunch of upside that you can also just cash in that will occasionally have a thing. Usher of the Fallen is a bad card. Usher of the Fallen is so good. Usher of the Fallen is so good. HD, you just don't like it because it's not a human. I'm gonna come out and say it. You just don't like it because it's not a human. Yup. Yeah, you're like, oh, I want to play it in humans because it makes humans, but it's not a human, so I can't play it. Yeah. I think this card's pretty alright. Caught in 4K. Fucking, I got the Zapruder lens right here. I've caught you for the whole world to see until Kevin Costner gets his hands on it or something. I don't know. I haven't watched that movie in like 20 years. I will use this as a moment to comment on this yellow border. And I've seen a lot of discussion about these yellow bordered cards. Specifically the yellow bordered basics and everything. And people are saying these cards, they look bad. And they're saying that these cards, like, oh, this yellow border sucks. It doesn't look like a Magic card. It's very like brash. It's very abrasive. Why the fuck is this on a card, right? And it's weird that people, I mean, it's not weird because of course people are going to do this, but they haven't seen it, right? Like how many of the people saying that have actually seen these cards in person? And time again, we have had borders and treatments like this that they don't look very good online, but then in person you get them and they look great. So it's wild that people are you know, acting like that about this kind of thing. But as somebody that has seen these cards in person and that has held one and parsed what this card looks like, and I've been able to actually take it in, I feel proud enough to say that this really looks like shit. Yeah, these look so fucking bad, dude. They are not good. And it's not just one of them. It's not just one of them. Multiples. Doesn't matter the card. I thought it might be different for like the lands and the creatures and whatever. No, they all look fucking bad. That's not entirely true. Some of them I look at them and I'm like, this is kind of cool. Like actually Basri's a great example of it. Is that if you had these for like I don't know how you would do this for the complete color cycle, but like if you had these for like 5 planeswalkers, one of every color, right? And they all had this, like, this is what the white one looks like, and the blue one has like a blue border, and the, you know, that kind of thing. Maybe. But yeah, these don't look great. these do not look great. Bulwark Ox. 1 and a white for a 2/2 Ox mount. It says whenever this creature attacks while saddled, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Sacrifice this creature. Creatures you control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Saddle 1. This card's kind of not great. I don't know. I'm lower on this card. And I think that I am slowly trying to transition out of the mindset that a bear with upside is like enough justification for a card to see play. This is a very, like, the mounts have been very awkward. Like, the mounts that see play are Caustic Bronco, which the Bronco is good whether or not it's saddled. And when you do saddle it, that Bronco can be so swingy. The Ornery Tumblewag is good because it always puts the counter, and when you crew it or when you saddle it, it feels like it just takes over the game entirely. You know? Calamity, like the big fire horse, is pretty good when it gets saddled because it says when it's saddled, you win the game. And its saddle is 1. So realistically, the saddle ability of Calamity is just like flavorful and not actually like, it's not actually saddle. You know what I mean? Like saddle in the context of Calamity could be like, whenever this attacks, you can tap an untapped creature you control. And if you do, you do the thing, right? Like, I guess Fortune has seen some niche play. Gitrog has seen some niche play, but Gitrog's kind of in the same sense of like, damn, I really needed more on my 6-power haste trampling creature or whatever. This card, despite it being a 2-mana 2/2, despite it being in white where you will have a bunch of cheap little duders that you could saddle, or like in green-white counters or whatever that you can saddle to take advantage of the sacrifice, there's just too much going against this for me to want to play it in 2025, you know? Like, in order for this card to do what I want it to do, I have to tap my other creatures to get it saddled, which I can do, right? You have the play pattern of like, play a big thing that puts counters on things, and then saddle with that creature, and you could do some cool stuff. And then you could be like, oh, and I get to protect my board because of this sacrifice ability. And that is nice. But like, think of how often in the set preview streams or like the North 100 set reviews do we talk about the counters deck? And like, when we talk about cards added to the counters deck, despite the fact that we talk about them a lot, we still try to talk about only like the 2 drops or the 1 drops and maybe like a really powerful 3 drop or whatever. Because there's so many of them. There's just so fucking many of them. So it's hard for me to look at this card that doesn't innately come in with counters, requires other things to even put on counters, and then this sacrifice ability is kind of nice, especially because hexproof and indestructible is pretty flexible. But I just don't think that it's worthwhile for, at least for Canadian Highlander, given the available card slots. I just don't think there's any room for this kind of card. Maybe it's a little different for like a Gladiator version, but even then, like, though the Gladiator version really suffers when it draws a card that doesn't have a counter, or like when you draw a card that isn't like a Mana Dork, a Modern Horizons 3 card, or something with counters. And so it's hard to really justify this type of card. Play while you're ahead. Yeah, it's a continue to snowball your board, play while you're ahead, but also give you protection from overextending. And that part's kind of neat. But yeah, it just I don't know. I'm not impressed. It's 2025, people. You gotta do more. I will say, I should hate these cards. I should hate these secret layer ass treatments, right? Like this by all metrics, I should not like this. But I do. I like the Ed Roth, the Big Daddy pieces of artwork. I think they're great. I think personally, this is what I would like these treatments to do. This is what I think they should be doing with the secret layers, with the fancy the borders or whatever. This is the kind of thing where it's like, oh hell yeah, this is a weird looking fucker. But it's also all the text is in the right place. Everything is legible. There's nothing weird about the placement on artwork, on card type. And who cares if it looks a little freaky? This kind of magic, I know that this is obviously a callback to a very specific iconic artist, and I like that. That's a large portion of why I like that and what I think they should be doing for this kind of like special border. I would much rather this be what they do than some like Genshin Impact-esque anime or whatever the fuck they are, right? And oh shit, I lost my train of thought. I like that it's a callback to that, and also it's not that like far off from what old Magic art looked like. Like the colors are a bit brighter for sure. Like the pink is a lot brighter, but like this weird looking thing would fit in perfectly in like Stronghold, right? Or like you can just see fucking Jeff Miracola like Jeff Miracola making artwork that looks like this, right? Like a weird fucking Beeble or something. Yeah. This is going to be a very divisive style of card. But I'm okay with that because I think Magic needs to get uglier. Magic, like many other things in this world, have lost its ugly. It's lost its ugliness. A lot of Magic the Gathering has become too it's too smoothed down, in my opinion, especially for these kind of treatments. Yeah, it's become a little gentrified, a little corporate clean. Good, yes. And sorry, I got to change batteries on this mouse. And I don't like that. I think that we should embrace the ugly. I think we should be ecstatic when this is the kind of thing that they're willing to do, while everything is in the same fucking place that it should be. Everything's in the place that it should be. It's a call out to an iconic artist. It's, you know, it's fitting for the theme of the set. And some of these are ugly. They're ugly, but they're your friend, you know? And that rules to me.
Another one.
Yeah, it's Ratfink, right?
Gives me conniptions.
I don't know what they call it in, like, this treatment is called, like, in universe or whatever. But yeah. Super Tortoise Boy gifted a sub to the community, and that went to Terraphon. Very kind of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Embrace the ugly. Am I fishing for a hug? Are you kidding me? Do you know how hot I am? Have you seen how thirsty people get for me in comments? No. Yeah, you're out of your depth, kid. Rude borderless? That's very funny. Rude Riders is pretty good. I like Rude Riders. I could open this robe like this and then immediately get a $50 donation. But you know why I don't? I have too much respect for my community, and I give this shit away for free. I give this shit away for free. I definitely read this as Quebec. I definitely read this. I don't know why. I was scrolling down and I was like, the Quebecers' diet of Aether makes them capable of astonishing maneuvers. All right. Valor's Flagship. 4 white for a 7/7 legendary artifact vehicle with flying, first strike, and lifelink. And crew 3. And cycling for X, 2, and a white. When you cycle this card, create X/1/1 colorless pilot creature tokens with this token saddles, mounts, and crews vehicles as though its power were 2 greater.
Let the sun shine upon this Lord of Cinder.
I mean, it's a decree of justice. I like that. It's a decree of justice, but the hard cast version of it stinks. It's got to be reasonable. Well, it may be too expensive for Greasefang. Greasefang decks may play one in Pioneer or whatever. I don't know. I look at this card and be like, hell yeah, I am not playing this in anything. I'm not playing this shit in anything. I don't actually... No, there's cards with cycling that aren't the legends, but I do like, again, having cycling on these legendary things, even if it is one further knock against legends being relevant. Like, the best part about legendary cards is that you can make them fancy, but you have the drawback of you can only ever have one in play. And so there is a downside, and then they're just like, hold on, did you say downside? We can't, no. We can't allow for a downside. We got to give something to them. Ipsiop back for the second month. A tip for an exposed chest. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support. Glad to have you. Good to see you. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this card's playable. Yeah, maybe one of sideboard in that mono white tokens deck, or 2 of sideboard in mono white tokens or something. But the payoff for this card is just not good, right? Ben, check coffee. I fucked up and did the bit. They're not on Streamlabs. Oh my god. Oh my god, Jules, please. Jules, thank you. Oh shit, you're not alone. Jules, thank you for the $25 donation. That's very kind of you. And thank you to W. Lowe as well for the $5 donation. Very kind of you. That's very generous. You didn't. Jules, you could have just asked. Mods get this for free. Mods get this for free. Sky Strike for the 4th month. Welcome back. How you doing? How you been? Glad to have you. May I say good to see you. Thank you so much for all the support. Doretti can trash for treasure but Doretti can do that with any artifact. And Portal to Phyrexia is still in standard, isn't it? Yes, exactly. That is kind of the awkward spot with this card, is that sneaking it into play, you just get a big dork. And that's not that exciting. I don't know. It's just behold, a 7/7 that I also need additional things to get to, actually do something. that still just dies to so much removal. All right. On to the next one. Voyager Glide Car. 1 white for a 2/3 artifact vehicle. When this vehicle enters, you scry 1. Tap 3 other untapped creatures you control. Until end of turn, this vehicle becomes an artifact creature and gains flying. Put a 1/1 counter on it and has crew 1. This card's kind of interesting to me. It's hard to ignore anything that costs 1 mana. Technically, it has like a 1 mana hits play, has some kind of upside. It's kind of Warden of the Inner Sky at home. I think you have to leverage either a really aggressive shell, like talking like 1-drop, playing as many 1-drops or token generators as possible in order to take advantage of this. Whereas something like Warden of the Inner Sky, you could just throw this in like a humans deck or a mono white deck and it's fine. It'll do the thing. Vehicles are tough because we don't have many good ones. Like, vehicles have kind of gone through the same thing that equipment went through, where we got some really powerful ones, and then it was a huge lull, and then they were like, okay, we need to up the power level on these again, and then they juiced them out. And so now we are stuck with, like, a world where, yeah, Smuggler's Copter is incredible, but everybody knows that. Unlicensed Hearse is great, but is only ever a vehicle once, Reckoner Bankbuster, very powerful Magic card that will become a vehicle eventually, but it's mostly not vehicling. Like, a lot of the vehicles that they print where they're like, this is a vehicle, do not feel like vehicles. Like Shorakai, that hover ship, Fleet Wheel Cruiser, back in the day for vintage. Yeah, it's they're kind of interesting. Oh right, Bankbuster's a vehicle. Yeah, Sky Sovereign, legitimately a vehicle, but also you play it because it's just like I got this card out way ahead of the curve, and now I'm just going to win the board every single time. Parhelion is less of a vehicle, more of like, what if you could sneak attack in, a Grave Titan or whatever. Asika's Chariot's a legit vehicle. I think that's fine. Yeah. Asika's Chariot plays like a proper vehicle, but also can just be like 4 mana, make 3 permanents. Did Chariot get banned in Standard? I remember they did a bunch of really stupid bannings. No, Faceless Haven got banned. I remember people talking about banning Chariot. I don't actually remember if it happened. They banned really bad Remand. So, like, who knows? It could happen. It got Alchemide. I see. Yeah, divide by 0. When people are talking about the worst cards to ever be banned, and even if they put the stipulation on like modern Magic, they always talk about Attune with Aether, which really boils my biscuits, because no, this card can't be the worst card that's being banned because it's a 1 mana card that gets 2 resources. Right? I'm not saying Attune with Aether is Gitaxian Probe, but it's a lot closer to Gitaxian Probe than like the divide by 0 is to even something like Remand, Attune with Aether is just legit. Yeah, it's kind of like an Arkham's Astrolabe style card, but divide by 0 is not great. They did ban Felden's Cane, but come on. I mean, do you see the kind of shit they were banning? They banned Divine Intervention. And then unbanned Divine Intervention. Anywho. This card. I am hesitant, but also the cost of inclusion is so low that I think you could try it out. I think you could absolutely give this a run. Yeah, it had the same energy as Shahrazad, but then they ended up unbanning it while keeping Shahrazad banned, which makes sense. That card's like 8 mana. It is just funny that they're like, okay, well, this is obviously terrible for the gameplay aspect. But also, it's 8 mana. Building by Divine Intervention, replenish deck. Divine Intervention, I don't know. What's a good card to just remove counters? Like Divine Intervention, Nesting Ground. Legal in Commander. Fun card to play out in Commander. Scrub that from the record. They might kick me off the Commander Format Council or the Commander Format Panel. If they catch me saying that. Oh Christ, there are so many fewer cards here than I thought. All right, that's fine. Hull Drifter. 3 blue for a 3/2 artifact vehicle with flying. When this vehicle enters, draw 2 cards and has crew 3. I don't think this card's good, but I like what it represents. I not even for the name. I actually think the name is a little clunky. I think it for starters, we just got Null Drifter. I think Null Drifter does a lot better with this name than Hull Drifter. Right? Like this to me is a lot cooler of a flip. No Evoke. Yeah, but the 3's right here for crew. They do this on a couple of cards in this set. I think a couple of the yeah, there's a couple of them that are previewed. But like there are these cards that have callbacks to other cards in their name and partially in their function, but they don't play similarly, right? Like you can play this and it's a 5 mana thing that draws 2 cards. But also, Muldrifter didn't have 3 power. There's no way of cheating this into play. The way that it plays out is, I imagine, not going to be that different, or going to be much different from the way that a Muldrifter plays, right? It's a creature or whatever. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that every card that has like a name callback like this needs to be the exact same thing, but you do lose a couple of points every time you change an aspect of it, even if it is an upgrade, right? Like there could be, I'm not saying this is going to be the case, because this is just a common in a set before we get a new set in like 2 weeks, but there's a case that this card would be more beloved by the community and by fans if it were a 2/2. Like if you made it worse with like worse graphics and it paid more. Like if you just made this 4 and a blue for a 2/2 flying when the CTBs draw 2 cards. It's also, yeah, it's not drifting. I don't know. There's another card that does this that I'll talk about it when we get there. Midnight Mangler. Love this artwork. I mostly just want to talk about this for the artwork. 1 in a blue for a 3/3 vehicle. During turns other than yours, this vehicle is an artifact creature and has crew 2. Great artwork. This is the kind of like, if you're doing this kind of stylized artwork too, this is what I like. This is what I'm into. I'm okay with this. It's also a card that it's just the defender creatures, right? Which is why I'm talking about it, because I really like that type of creature. the like 2-mana 3/3s in blue that have defender, but then they don't have defender. They can attack as though they didn't have defender if a certain qualification is met. I think that's pretty fun. Yeah, but it's also it has crew, so it could just, you know, you can do some other things with crew. It's a cheap vehicle. That's kind of neat. I just like that. This artwork is not for me, but repurposing bay. 2 and a blue for an artifact. Pay 2 generic, tap, sacrifice another artifact. Search your library for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrificed artifact's mana value. Put that card into play, then shuffle. So, it's like a birthing pod for artifacts. It does have a couple of differences here. This is 3 mana. Birthing pod could be 4 mana, but could also just be 3 mana at the cost of 2 life. The activation's the big thing. The fact that you could play Birthing Pod and activate Birthing Pod for 4 mana is pretty good. Like that's what really made that card tick, especially in decks with artifact acceleration. The 2 generic for an activation is a lot of mana, which makes me think that this card is not going to be as sought after in Gladiator as it may be in Canadian Highlander. Like being able to, an uncounterable way of getting out your Time Vault or converting a land into a Voltaic key or whatever is pretty nice. Being able to find Krark Clan Ironworks, being able to find Paradox Engine is pretty good. Like there are artifacts that you can turn into there are artifacts in Canlander that you really want to hit, right? Like, yeah, land to key, untap this, find another card is pretty nasty. This might be a card that gets people to play Clock of Omens a bit more in Canlander. Clock of Omens is a card that I've always been surprised has not seen a huge amount of Canlander combo play, because that card is like busted. It just does a thing that you shouldn't be able to do. My one issue for this, or my biggest issue, I should say, is that it can't find a 0. Right? It makes sense because that's just how pod works. But not being able to find your Black Lotus or your Lion's Eye Diamond does restrict some of the artifact combo decks that this card can show up in, you know? But other than that, I'm willing to give this a shot. I've been burned before, but being able to find KCI or find Time Vault or the keys is pretty gross. Yeah, it does find Moonsilver Key, which finds Lotus. That's true. Key untaps it. It finds itself off a 2-drop, so you can activate it again, sack the 1 for a 4, tapped 1 for a 4-drop. There are a number of artifact clones at 3 and 4, somewhat playable. Seems good to me. Yeah, I mean, you could find a world where you, like, repurposing Bay into a Sculpting Steel, and then the Sculpting Steel copies this, and then you tap the Sculpting Steel one to sack the original to find KCI. Or to find, you know, something else. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Mr. Wheeler, excuse me. Please, Mr. Wheeler is my father's name. Call me Big Daddy Demon. Your Flying Simulator deck was incredibly fun to watch. Thanks for being you. Your pod loves watching you play. Or our pod loves watching you play. Oh, thank you so much. It's very kind of you to say. Yeah, for those that don't know, I was on an episode of Commander at Home, me and Krim, and I played... Oh, that's loud. I played my Flight Simulator deck. I'll drop it in chat. You should watch it. It's so fucking funny. They had to cut out a part... Well, they didn't cut it out entirely, but they did trim down a part where I believe I got the whole table laughing so hard that they had to, like, cut. Like Olivia almost peed herself. It was great. Anyways, moving on. I fucking love this. Thopter Fabricator. 2 and a blue for an artifact vehicle. It's a 4/4. I want to look at the normal art first, but we'll come back to that art. Don't worry. Don't worry. Thopter Fabricator. 2 and a blue for a 4/4 artifact vehicle with flying. And whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter token with flying. I don't think this card is good enough to see play in Canadian Highlander. I don't even know if this card might be good enough for like a Gladiator artifact mid-range deck. Obviously drawing off Thoughtcast, drawing off Cracking a Bauble, off of an egg, activating a Jace. Like there are a bunch of ways to get another card out of, or get a token out of this, but it seems like a lot. Like 3 mana for a 4/4 that just doesn't do anything is a little awkward. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's no Michael. It's no Michael. So I don't think this card's very good, is what I'm trying to say. But like maybe if you want a density of like a density of 2-drop, 3-drop artifacts matter cards, then this card could be fine. Yeah, there's cycling in the set, so it makes sense. What I really want to talk about is this. This is so fucking good. You got the Loxodon posted up next to his ride. I mean, come on. Come on. Come on, bro. It's so good. And there's another one too, right? They previewed the other one. There's another one where he's Slav squatting. Let me see if I can find it. Because I want to talk about this one while we're talking about... Yeah, here we go. This goes hard as shit, dude. Like... Oh my god. Both these guys are hitting the, like, select your racer. And, you know, it's this Loxodon, like that, and then just fucking squatting. This is so cool. This is so dope. I mean, I'm a bit of a Loxodon fanboy, but come on, man. Like, to think that we've gone from, like, Loxodon on Mirrodin being like, we will protect the people and the peace, and we believe that both the artifacts and the living beings of this plane need to work in harmony, to, like, dude, check out this sick ride. I'm totally going to... Man, I can't wait to do laps on all those fuckers that bought their initial D-ass car. Check out this Path Cruiser. Yeah, it's great. It's so great. It's so good. Vinwixt Verbose Host. 1 and a blue for a 0/4 legendary homunculus with Start Your Engines. Start Your Engines is a new mechanic here that utilizes speed. If you have no speed, it starts at 1. It increases once on each of your turns when an opponent loses life. Max speed is 4. You have no maximum hand size. Max speed. If you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. So, this is the Start Your Engines thing. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, it's kind of a neat mechanic to introduce, especially if you have like Thopters or cheap little ways of pinging your opponent, dealing damage. That I like. I think that's kind of cool. And I imagine the cards that reference speed, the ones that end up being playable, are going to be the cards that are able to help facilitate that. Or that they're going to be cards that show up in archetypes that will look to attack for like the first couple of turns of the game and look to continuously attack or push damage. It's worth noting that it will increment whenever they lose life on your turn, no matter how that life is lost. So you might be able to catch people in a world, if I'm talking about Gladiator or Canlander, you may catch people in a world where they're fetching on end of turn to find a surveil land, where you can increment your speed that way. I do think that this card is probably dog shit in that it's an 0/4 that has no ETB other than, I guess, starting your engines. That wants to be played in a deck that is going to get my speed up to the maximum. And then I'm going to start drawing a bunch of cards. Like, why this and even this does not really pay into this, which is probably why it's this. Right? Yeah. It's, yeah. Speed is, I imagine going to be, yeah, it's going to be like day night. It's going to be day night. It does feel like starting intensity. Yeah. No, the Hazard's a 2-drop. Hazard's a 2-mana 5/3. Yeah. So like the play pattern with that is like you have your 1-drop, next turn you play the Hazard and you hit them, and then now you're at 2 speed. So you just need to hit them 2 more times to get that 5/3 going. Yeah, American cheese looking for it. All right. Bloodghast. This card's already available on Arena. It's already legal in Gladiator, already legal in Canadian Highlander, of course. But it's also a hell of a reprint. This is a very cool card to put into Standard and to put into Pioneer. It's kind of funny because there are so many decks in Standard right now that are just like, what if I played a Endless Nightmare or Hopeless Nightmare or whatever it is? It's just like, what if I played this 1-mana card that made you discard a card, and then I played another 1-mana card that brought back my enchantment, and then I played my 1-mana card, and then I got you to discard a card? You know, that kind of thing. It's just like, okay, I guess I'll discard my Bloodghast. Pretty good with Insidious Roots as well. Yeah, I don't know if this screams Espanto Sangriento to me, but, you know. Whatever. This fucking rips. This is so funny. This baby runs on unleaded O negative. This shit's funny to me. You know, I will say this. I have definitely been enjoying Magic more. This, like, if I can get a little serious here for folks. I obviously would prefer stuff like Universes Beyond not exist, right? I would prefer if Magic cards looked more like Magic cards. And I think that there are a lot of people that feel that as well. That a lot of people that have felt like their connection to the game has been waning. And that's fine. Magic's a hobby for so many of you. You can just fucking stop, dude. If you're not enjoying it, you don't have to be playing it. That's whatever. It's literally just a hobby for so many of you. Right? I mean, there's the things that come with the hobbies, like, you know, social groups and whatnot, but I don't know. You could start playing a fighting game, hop on a Discord, and you'll meet friends, right? But I gotta tell you, I started enjoying Magic a lot more in this new era when I stopped being so self-serious about it, right? When I was just like, whatever. It's like, what can we do? Like, all we can do about this stuff is, you know, you vote with your wallet or whatever, or just wait until the Universes Beyond dries out in like 2 years or whatever. And just appreciate that, like, good gameplay is ultimately a massive part of it. Let people enjoy things? No, I'm not saying that. A lot of this deserves the hate that it gets. A lot of this is bullshit that actively harms the game. I will never say let people enjoy things. What if I enjoy, what if kink shaming is my kink, huh? I'm not saying to bully and badger people, but I am saying that you should be critical of the things that you are engaging with, especially if especially if the way that they are operating is purely focused on something like capital, right? What if you don't want to play Marvel Snap? Well, Marvel Snap's a terrible game, so you know, you can, that makes sense. But I think that my biggest issues for all of these things, for all the Universes Beyond stuff, is that they don't look like cards and that they are illegible. For the secret layers, for all the weirdo things, like, there shouldn't be extended art Hatsune Miku Ronald Reagan, like, Magic card that could be played at like a comp level event. But stuff like this is goofy, ugly, in a complimentary way. It adds a little bit of levity to the game, and you'll probably enjoy your hobby more if you treat it more like a hobby. You know? If you treat your goofy ass card game like a hobby. So stuff like this I think is okay. I'm okay with this. And I'm happy to enjoy the game the more where I'm like, oh, this is fucking wild. I'm still not going to get these cards, right? That's not my shtick. But like this as the direction should be encouraged, in my opinion. Because if we can say that this kind of thing is the way to go, then we're going to get fewer, I don't know, somebody throw me like an absolutely egregious secret layer card. I mean, the One Ring is the classic one. Like, the more that people are like, actually, this is good, hopefully the fewer of this that we're going to get. Or that Arwen. The Arwen is actually, the Arwen, like, fucking took me out, bro. Like, I couldn't even tell, like, what is this? What is this? What is this? But if this had proper placement on naming, text box, mana cost, like, great. I know this is a secret layer. It's going to be different from something they put in a standard legal set, but I like the art. I like the colors. I just like to also read my fucking cards. And take this from me, somebody who's a large portion of his collection is in a language that he cannot read, right? Like, you need to be able to read the cards. Oh, wait, this was in a booster product? Wait, what? Wait, for real? This wasn't a secret lair? Oh my god. Okay, that is not okay. That is not okay. Oh shit. Whew. Whew. Okay. I'm moving on. Crypt Caller Chariot. 3 and a black for a 5/5 artifact vehicle with menace. Whenever you discard one or more cards, create that many tapped 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Crew 2. I think this card's a little too expensive for it to see much Gladiator play, but I could actually see a world where this does show up, because this ability is kind of fucked, right? Like, I know that it's discard one or more, So, you know, if you get, I mean, there's no Hymn to Torak in our format, but like, you know, if you end up discarding your hand and drawing like a Wheel of Fortune or something, you're only going to get one zombie. But there are a lot of discard outlets that can just, you know, Psychic Frog is going to get banned very soon. But wait, it is that many? Oh, never mind. Yeah, okay, great. Then what I'm saying doesn't matter. Reading the card, something the card. I can't read this card. You kidding me? It needs to look more like this. Now this I can read. Relieve by indescrutable counter from anxiety. Counter target creature. Gains indestructible, untie, end of turn. Put 0+1/+1 counter. And lifelink counter and that cretin. Huh. Huh. Hour of Victory. 2 and a black for an enchantment with Start Your Engines. When this enchantment enters, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with max speed, 1 and a black. Sacrifice this enchantment, search your library for a card, put it into your hand, activate only as a sorcery. I don't think this is going to see play because the decks that want this kind of card already have this kind of card. They have this kind of card that is a little cheaper, that also makes a body that is a lot better at facilitating like this. It is kind of funny that like this card would prefer to have this token and maybe this card would prefer to have this token, right? That's kind of neat. I like the Amonkhet callback. They're finally getting a win. I'll save my thoughts about that for the end here, but like maybe the end of me doing the set review for this. But boy, I feel really bad for like I feel bad for Shivam, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, would be great if we could see what happened to Amonkhet and Avishkar and Muragonda through the lens of something other than Wacky Racers or the Subspace Emissary or whatever, right? Yeah, I think that if you're playing this for like a card that makes a body, can, you know, give you a payoff for max speed or whatever, then you already have, or not even a payoff for max speed, but a card that makes a body and that wants you to hit them over and over and over again. There's a card that does that for cheaper that we already have access to. I will be playing this card in my, oh my God, I haven't played, what the fuck is her name? Oh, it begins with an A. She's from Theros Beyond Death. She's a stupid bird zombie, makes a 2/2. No, not Anakthea. This is Arwen. Deb Thomas. No, I can't. No, not Euphemia. God, how do I not? Euphemia? Is it I think yeah, it's Euphemia. Yeah, I have my Euphemia the Cacophony commander deck that I really liked. I built it during the first year of COVID. I really enjoyed it. I got to just play its mono black enchantments but tokens deck. It's a lot of fun. This card's perfect for it. Maybe I'll bring that to, I don't know. I should, which commander deck should I bring to Chicago? I want to bring a monocolored deck. I was thinking of bringing my Karametra deck. My mono green Karametra deck. My mono green Karametra Emeria deck. One I like, but I like them all. Big stupid suns. I brought Masamaro to so many events. I kind of want to bring a monocolored deck. Heliod. The saltiest one because you're sweet enough. Copper Tablet. Mono green, most boring decks to play. If you think playing mono green is boring in Commander, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You need to spice up the action there. You need to get a little nasty. A little bit nasty with it. It's too easy. Okay. If you think winning a game with this motherfucker is too easy, we need to get your ass on the pro tour. If you think a face that only a mother could love, like this is, you sleeve this bad boy up and tell me it's too easy. The deeper the wood, the greater its strength. The bigger the cap, the bigger the pillin'. Where'd you find your personal photo? Remember when you got mugged 7 months ago? Momentum Breaker. 1 and a black for an enchantment. Start your engines. When this enchantment enters, each opponent sacrifices a creature or vehicle of their choice. Each opponent who can't discards a card. Pay 2, sacrifice this enchantment. You gain life equal to your speed. This is a weird one where I don't think it's going to be playable in either Gladiator or... Well, actually, I could see this card maybe showing up in Gladiator. Only because it's a permanent that causes an opponent to sacrifice a card. Right? Like you can... There are things that you can do with this card being a cheap enchantment that has an ETB, like the Enigmatic Incarnation. I'm sure there's somebody that's trying to put together like the Esper Pixie deck, but in Gladiator, that this card could see play. It's just very funny that like outside of maybe some niche application, the spot where I think this card's going to show up is going to be in Vintage, because you could just play it off of Luris. That's pretty funny. It's a card that you can repeatedly play off your Luris to deal with mono white. Tan Clown. Back for the 15th month. I changed my Twitch name. This is the viewer formerly known as Looney Clown. Looking forward to jamming with you at MC Chicago. Well, congrats on the name change, Tan Clown. Glad to have you. Good to see you. Thank you so much for the support. And apologies to Aaron CB. I think I missed you in some kind of rant. Back for the 2nd month. A reasonable amount of months. 2 months is totally reasonable. Once you get to anything beyond like 9 months, it gets unhinged. Quag Feast. This card was very funny. There's a certain type of tweet or post on like Magic social media about cards like this that let me read this card and then I'll explain this. Sorry. Quag Feast is 1 and a black for a sorcery. Choose target creature, planeswalker, or vehicle. Mill 2 cards, then destroy the chosen permanent if its mana value is less than or equal to the number of cards in your graveyard. So a pretty good rare, pretty good removal, pretty good rare. Somebody said, wait, this is a rare? Pretty good removal spell. It is sorcery speed, but being able to kill like a Murktide Regent, I mean, Murktide Regent might be tough, but being able to kill like, you know, whatever creature you need or planeswalker or a vehicle is totally reasonable. I don't think this is necessarily a slam dunk in a lot of decks, but I do think this card is pretty good. The type of tweet that I'm talking about, and I'm not even trying to, I feel like Seth has gotten brought up on this channel like at least once a day, every day for the past week, and I don't know why. But there's a type of tweet on Magic Twitter that has big Judd Apatow after Chris Rock got slapped vibes. You know, when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock and Judd Apatow was like, he could have been killed. let me find it. He could have killed him. like that sort of thing. Because it's a tweet where Seth's like, this is a step down a slippery slope that inevitably ends with black disenchant. It's like, what? What are you talking about, dude? Black has been able to destroy vehicles since like Kaladesh. That's literally That's literally a thing that they did like in the first set with vehicles at common. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's such a, like, it's such a, I don't know, it's the slippery slope. Like, this can only end poorly. Think of this extreme scenario that could have happened, right? Deb Thomas, a slippery slope to the red crater hoof. Well, that's true. But Deb knew what she was doing. She didn't get rid of all those employees right before Christmas for nothing. I don't actually know if she did that. Deb, return my calls, please. Yeah, it's I don't know, killing vehicles in a vehicle set at sorcery speed that also has a very specific set of parameters to hit in order to do so feels fine. This feels totally reasonable. That's it. Could have killed him. This could have been a disenchant. This one's kind of funny. I don't think it's playable. Streaking Oil Gorger. The names, I think that they, in the past couple of years, they have definitely tried to, they have tried to come up with names that have terrible mouth, or either incredible mouthfeel or terrible mouthfeel. Basically, it feels like they've, not to talk about Saffron Olive again, it feels like they're like, wait a minute, Scumble to Temptation was huge. We gotta come out with a Scumble to Temptation. We gotta come out with our Saddleback Lagak, right? Which I think is a reasonable, that's a reasonable thing to do, but sometimes it falls flat. It falls flat. Sometimes it feels like they're doing it a little, it's a little too obvious they're doing it. Like, I like Slick Shot Lockpick. Streaking Oil Gorger. Oil Gorger is what people are really locking on. Chub Toad at your door. If oh fuck, what is it? Chub Toad at your door. Run away quick or you'll run no more. There we go. What up, Max? How you doing? It is kind of cool because it's a 5-mana 3/3 flying haste. Start your engines, max speed. It has lifelink. So this is, I just want to talk about this for the context of start your engines, and it's a 5-drop. This feels like the kind of card where if you are a deck that has already started your engines, then it can help get you to max speed. I do like 5-mana 3/3 flying haste. Like that is pretty good. That just kills things, including opponents. I know, who knows how this will like pan out down the line, but that seems pretty good. Oh shit. Wait, hold on. Chandra hitting some good old-fashioned racist flavor text? Wait a minute. What the fuck is this? They feed on oil? Oh wait, I guess it depends on how you read this. Like there's two readings. There's they feed on oil? Where were they during the Phyrexian invasion? Like we could have used their help. Or they feed on oil? Where were they during the Phyrexian invasion? And then they have to have a talk with Chandra of just like, hey, so not all vampires are, you know, terrorists. Like, it's yeah. Oh, is this you, Javik Unyielding? Was this yours? I mean, the racist read on this is also the content read. I think they feed on oil. Where were they during the Phyrexian invasion? Is more in character with Chandra, but it is, yeah, it is very funny. I think it was fine. I'm making a bit. It's a bit. I'm doing a bit. Ooh. The Last Ride. 1 black for a 13/13 legendary vehicle. The Last Ride gets -X, where X is your life total. Pay 2 and a black and 2 life, draw a card, and has crew 2. So this is a Death Shadow that has the dodges sorcery speed removal, requires, you to have something else to get it to crew, and then can also be used as a draw engine, albeit a very expensive one, to try and get you to a point where this card is going to be threatening. I guess my question is, how many Death Shadows that aren't Death Shadow see play or have seen play? Like, I know the Skyclave card got splashed a bit in Death Shadows decks, but not much. I know that I guess Shadow of Immortality or Shadow of Mortality or whatever the fuck it's called, Shadow of the Colossus. Ooh, I need to finish that game. Shadow of the Colossus saw play, but only because it costs 15. Yeah, I don't think this card will end up being playable, is my take on it. I think this activated ability is way too expensive, even though it is 1 mana. The crew 2 is a little awkward as well. I just don't think this card is that good. I think that nowadays your cards need to do things. Like, this is not a card where it's not like a grinding engine like Bank Buster or whatever. It doesn't really, it feeds into itself, but only in the sense that it can make it actually playable. I don't know. I'm not super sold on this card. I do think Death Shadow is a little underplayed in like Canadian Highlander. I would like to see more decks trying out Death Shadow. I think that there are likely some decks in Gladiator that could also be playing Death Shadow, like some of the 3-color, 4-color decks. Again, it's just like, yeah, you're shocking yourself a bunch. Red's popular in the format. Like, you should be playing this 1 mana 8/8 or whatever. I don't think this is it, Chief. Yeah, not for me. None for me, thanks. It can be cast on turn 1, which seems pretty useful. Yeah, you could just have it hit the table and sit there, and then you can get like a surprise kill, or like they always have to think about that. That is a point for the card. But typically the decks that want to, the decks that are willing to play the Death Shadow style cards, have no issue getting themselves to a low enough life total, and no issue with like, oh, I wish I could play my Death Shadow early on. It's like, no, they get down to like 8 and then they play 2 Death Shadows. You know? Yeah, play my Death Shadow, accrue it an attack. Oh, they gave the Costco guys a car. The Boom Mobile. 2 and 2 red for a 5/5 artifact vehicle with a double chunk chocolate chip. Wait a minute. Is that the Rizzlers? The Rizzlers behind the wheel? 2 and 2 red for a 5/5 vehicle. When this vehicle enters, add 4 mana of any 1 color. Spend this mana only to activate abilities. And it has Exhaust. Exhaust is a new keyword here. X, 2 and a red. This vehicle deals X damage to any target. Put a 1/1 counter on it. You can activate each Exhaust ability only once. So in addition to the intensity mechanic from Alchemy, we now have the use this ability only once mechanic being added here. But as Just Fits points out, yeah, it's monstrous, right? Monstrous has also been a thing. Because these cards change zones, it can never truly be like what's it called? I don't even know the name of the perpetually or whatever. Yeah, we've seen it before. It's not anything new, but it is a way for them to put a flavor spin on it that can also result in other cards maybe referencing, like, if a player exhausts an ability, you get to do a damage to them or whatever. It also has crew too. I don't know how to feel about this card. I think it's bad. It's 4 mana, and like, in order for it to dome something, it costs 3 mana up front. So if this is like 4 mana for a 6/6 vehicle, ping something for 1, sure. It does scale a little bit better, like on later turns. But then if we're getting up to like 5 mana and 6 mana, like, why am I not just playing Inferno Titan or Boiler Bill or whatever? Yeah, Exhaust can be used anywhere. That's nice. But obviously, when you read it in the context of the Vroom Vroom plane, then, you know, that's pretty good. There are some combos with this card, adding a bunch of mana, but I'm not a fan of this card. Chandra, Spark Hunter. 3 in a red for a legendary planeswalker, Chandra. 4 starting loyalty. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target vehicle you control. Until end of turn, it becomes an artifact creature and gains haste. +2, you may sacrifice an artifact or discard a card. If you do, draw a card. 0, create a 3/1 colorless artifact creature artifact token that's a vehicle with crew 1. And then -7, you get an emblem with whenever an artifact you control enters, this emblem deals 3 damage to any target. I actually like this card. I'd be interested in playing this card in a big red deck or a like 2-color artifact style deck, maybe even a 3-color artifact deck. This emblem comes about very quickly, right? You just need to play her and tick her up twice. Playing her and then ticking her up means that she has 6 loyalty. That's a lot of fucking loyalty to try and get through. And then being able to just like play her, make a vehicle, activate the vehicle immediately through this triggered ability means that she's pretty good at pressuring other planeswalkers. My only concern with this card is that the decks that she shows up in are not exactly top tier. Not that that's an issue, a huge issue. But you know, she's going to be a little niche in where she shows up. And 4-drop slot is very competitive, right? And she really struggles to deal with things on the board. It is kind of funny that we have gotten to a place where like we've gotten to a place where like the children yearn for Ob Nixilis. They yearn for like, oh no, just give me a planeswalker that hits the table. This fucking guy. Give me a planeswalker that hits the table, draws me some cards, or kills your thing, and then I get an emblem that wins the game. That's what they yearn for. It is a little unfortunate that she doesn't really protect herself other than having big loyalty. Because I mean, if you have additional creatures in play, then you can crew that, but this is only until end of turn, not until your next turn. So yeah, I don't know, not the worst planeswalker, especially because I feel like we've been getting some pretty bad planeswalkers. Well, that's not even true. Kaido is so good. Foundations didn't really have that many exciting planeswalkers, I think. The win the game emblem on Ob Nixilis is just Shieldred. Yeah. And what happens if you don't deal with Shieldred? You lose the game. They also have fancy alt art. Fracture foil. What is going on with her leg? So it's like her ass and hips are kind of out. Oh, fuck. Oh, don't try this at home. No, I know her knee's up. It's just a very weird pose. Yeah, her ass is dislocated. I don't know. She's getting off a bike. This is a normal pose. Look, when I admittedly, it's been a while since I've been on a motorcycle. But when I get off them, when I have lifted myself off of a motorcycle to get on my own 2 feet, I tend to not unhinge my ass. And like, she's like bringing up her knee like fucking so high. Like, I get it. She's probably more flexible than I am, but you know, it's just to soak it all in. It looks like she's got a Olivia knee syndrome. Dungeon Master Alec for the 17th month. Wrath, you look so dapper. Good for health, bad for education. Thank you so much for all the support. Glad to have you. Good to see you. Oh yeah, I know it's a pinup pose, but I don't know. It's a pinup pose, but her knee is blocking the goods. It's blocking the goods. Just tried to sit like that, almost fell over. Now add an H behind after that S. It really makes you think, huh? Count on luck. 3 red for an enchantment. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. I like this card. It's a these are the type of cards that I enjoy in the big red decks. There is a bit of a downside in that this is a triple red pip card, but I could see this card seeing some play. Even in like aggressive red decks, I could see this card seeing some play. Because 3 mana is not a lot of mana, and drawing 2 cards every turn is pretty huge, right? Like, think of some of the other kind of cards like this that have seen play. They all cost 4 mana. They all, like, even like Experimental Frenzy or whatever, it's just like, what if you just like get bricked by a couple of mountains or whatnot? Like this is, and 3 mana is great because 3 mana is the like, I'm not going to overextend. I'm going to like make sure that I don't run out of cards. Wild Wasteland's the red one. As the premier Wild Wasteland pilot of the format. That's not true. I think my big red list in Canlander needs some work. But yeah, I would look to play this, even if it has a triple red pip. I think that's fine. Could mono red Impulse be a deck archetype with Inti and Lelia and the Wild Wasteland? Well, I think that for that deck, you're better off just being Rakdos. Or you could just play there is a version of mono red that has like all the spell slingers, like the Kessig Fire Breather cards, Thermo Alchemist style cards. Ironically, not Thermo Alchemist, but all the Thermo Alchemist style cards that does play the Ren's Resolve and Reckless Impulse kind of card filtering. Is there a better red card that does this? Well, Wild Wasteland's pretty good. It's very similar to Wild Wasteland. I like this card. I think there's been a lot of discussion about loot. And I think they did. It does look like loot is a little less uncanny here. But then, I don't know. Now I'm getting like Scrappy Doo vibes. You know? Is this fucker gonna get old enough and go ba-da-da-ba-ba-ba puppy power? Like, have we moved from Grogu to this? Jar Jar Binks? Oh shit, you're right. Oh my god, you're right. Oh, Yeah, he talks in the story. Misa no wanna go with Chandra. Anyways. Duretti, Rocketeer Engineer. 4 and a red for a star 5, legendary creature Goblin Artificer. Duretti's power is equal to the greatest mana value among artifacts you control. Whenever Duretti enters or attacks, choose target artifact in your graveyard. You may sack an artifact. If you do, return the chosen card to the battlefield. I think this card's pretty good. It's like, yeah, it's a trash for treasure on ETB or attack, which is pretty interesting. The biggest problem with trash for treasure is it's a sorcery. It's just you get a one-shot card, and trash for treasuring is often not as busted, or at least more telegraphed than like tinkering things out. Now, tinker is a pretty high bar to hit. You can't be reasonably expected to tinker, but it's trash for treasuring not as sought after, I guess is what I'm saying. But if it's on a creature, even though this is a 5-drop creature, I think this card will see both Gladiator and honestly some niche Canadian Highlander play. Its mana cost is really in line with tapping Tolarian Academy or Thran Dynamo, Ancient Tomb style cards. Its toughness lets it dodge wildfires. Also gets around Flame Slash. Even if it's a 5-mana legend, you do not want to keep Karakasing this card. Like, yeah, I think this card is legitimately, like, worth considering in certain decks for Canadian Highlander and Gladiator. Also, I love the fucking wheels on his chair. They're so dope. It's one thing for Wizards of the Coast. I mean, Wizards of the Coast already has issues with representing characters with disabilities, or especially those with mobility issues. And so it's one thing for them to have a character that has that, but also when they are represented, characters with mobility issues and disabilities tend to be represented in a way where they are not emblematic of traditionally cool archetypes, and this manages to get around that, which I like. Yeah, they tend to either be evil or they make them into they're either evil, or they're like, you thought I was disabled, but actually this is gives me strength, which is corny for a variety of reasons. Or they make them the, like, we have to protect them. You got to feel real bad for this kid because this kid doesn't have a leg, right? And this does not do that. This is just a dude. This is just a guy living his life. That, yeah, he had the old Wild Wild West chair, which was very like, oh, okay, I guess that's what we're doing. But no, he's updated it. He upgraded it. Yeah. Dope. They did all right with Teysa until they killed her. Yeah. Everybody will be driving. You're going to let loot behind the wheel? Oh, damn. This dude's... This art is wild. It does not feel like Duretti, but this is a character that I would love to see just in Magic the Gathering more often. Yeah, this is a dude's rock. Let disabled dudes rock. Hell yeah. Draconautics Engineer. 1 in a red for a 2/2 Goblin Artificer with Exhaust for 1 red. Other creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. Put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Activate this Exhaust ability only once. And Exhaust, 3 in a red. Create a 4/4 dinosaur dragon creature token with flying. This is kind of interesting to me. I've been hurt by these cards before. I'm willing to I'm going to say that this card is obviously for Gladiator Goblins, they'll take it. I think this card is fine. I think this card is fine. Like, this exhaust ability, you only really need to activate it once, and then it kills people, right? Like, you just activate it on a turn where you play this Draconautics Engineer, and the next turn you play, I don't know, like the Rada's Firebrand or whatever, the one that says they can't block. You pay a red. This thing comes to 3/3. That thing has haste. Now their creature can't block, and you hit them for 6. That's fucked. That's just so much pressure so early on. And then the next turn, you could just play a land and make a fucking dragon. Like, that's a lot of value off of one card that, again, makes it so that you don't have to expend a bunch of resources to get blown out by a sweeper or something else, right? So I think that's pretty good. I think that is pretty good. I am curious about this card in Canadian Highlander. My gut reaction is that, gut as in the Goblin card, my gut reaction is that this card will probably be fine. I don't know. Goblins, and I need to re-up my Goblins knowledge in Highlander, admittedly. Because on one hand, I'm like, the strength of Goblins is they can kill you on turn 3, but they can also just like somehow outgrind you. And this card facilitates both those game plans, which leads me to think that it's worthwhile. I don't think this card is showing up in like normal red deck wins in Canlander. I don't think this is a medium red card either. But certainly for Gladiator decks, this card is fine. And maybe for Canlander Goblins. No, what's her name? Teysa was like canonically disabled, right? That was her whole, not her whole shtick. Yep, that's her whole thing. She had a club foot. Ooh. What the fuck is this? Full Throttle. 4 red for a sorcery. After this main phase, there are 2 additional combat steps. At the beginning of each combat this turn, untap all creatures that attack this turn. I don't think this card is good enough for Canlander or Gladiator. I think this card is very fun. Like, extra combat steps I love, because I'm pretty poo-poo on extra turns in Commander. Like, I didn't do this so I could be on my phone, you know, and extra turns do that. But this feels very, like the extra combat steps feel very like, oh no, like there are decisions to make, there are game actions to take here. And like, yeah, you're not getting all your mana back. I mean, in certain combinations you could, but like, yeah, sure, whatever. This progresses the game that still keeps the other players involved. It is kind of funny that after this main phase, there are 2 additional combat steps. So the wording on this makes me believe that you could cast this on an opponent's turn and give somebody else additional combat steps, which I think is dope. I don't know if has that always been the case with like a Relentless Assault? Yeah, that's always been the case. That's very cool. The 2 is the one that really really got me. Like the 2 additional combats, it's like, wait a minute. I think it's the fact that this is segmented really kind of piqued my interest, because I think the previous kind of effects like this are all one block, and this one is like, after this main phase there are 2 additional combat phases. It's like, well, hold on. You mean I can cast this in a main phase? Yeah, you can play the second main phase to be like, all right, I made a big attack. This all happened. Now we can try doing it again. It's pretty dope. Hazaret Godseeker. 1 and a red for a 5/3 legendary god with indestructible and haste. And start your engines. Pay 1, tap. Target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. Hazaret can't attack or block unless you have max speed. I don't know how I feel about this card. It is cheap. It is big. It is indestructible. It can use its ability the turn it comes into play to push for more damage. It is in the color and the style of card that wants to do damage to their opponent every single turn. And sometimes that damage is going to be in smaller increments. That's pretty cool. It does crew pretty nicely for the vehicle theme of the set. I don't think this is going to be worthwhile playing. At least not in Canadian Highlander. Because in Canadian Highlander, this gets Caracased. This is also just a 5/3, no trample, no nothing. Like, you could just throw something in front of it. It doesn't provide a huge amount of reach as well, right? Like, you could push damage, but that's still combat-based. It doesn't have, like, the other Hazaret that could, like, throw damage at people or whatever. Not that you should compare this Hazaret to the other Hazaret, because it doesn't matter. This card could be called Deb Thomas for all I care. And it would, you know, the fact that it is a Hazaret is not really attached to that. But it doesn't have that kind of, like, longevity that some other cards with restrictions may have. So I'm hesitant to say this card is playable in Canlander. My vibe is it isn't. And I don't think that's the same for Gladiator. I think this card might be fine in Red Deck Wins Gladiator. Because there isn't a Caracas. You still have your Swords Path, Prismatic Ending, and whatnot. But I think in Gladiator Red Deck Wins, there are more just like, hey, this is a creature with an aggressive stat line that I need to, like, hit you with, you know? And so that this becomes more relevant there. I'm going to give a shark warning. I need to very quickly run to the washroom here, but I'm going to give a shark warning. This is mostly for Angel, but anybody else that doesn't like sharks, I'm going to be talking about a shark when I come back. So just give me one hot second. I'm going to run to the washroom.
Well, Ben Wheeler, abusing magic.
Yeah. How dare you?
No.
Hi. Thank you. It's Ralph Lauren. Infinity. What the? Hello? Oh. Oh no, I fucking opened it on my phone. No. Infinity Plus, welcome to the stream. Thank you for subscribing and supporting the channel. Glad to have you. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Oh, that fucking terrified me. All right, shark warning. Shark warning. Marauding Mako. 1 red for a 1/1 creature, Shark Pirate. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, put that many 1/1 counters on this creature. Cycling for 2. What a bunch of junk. I'll take the lot. This card's great. A little niche in where it shows up, but I think that we are at the point where you could build a Hollow 1 style deck in Canlander and Gladiator. Yeah, Avora Gaming. There's just so many synergies across this style of like card flow where like you have multiple 1-drops that care about you discarding cards, or 1-drops that set up for you discarding cards. You have multiple 2-drops that do something beneficial when you discard cards and that grow or that feed into more discard style cards. Like the Inties, the Avoras, the fear of missing out, like that style card, right? And then at 3, we have cards that care about obviously discarding. We have cards that obviously care about we have cards that care about what happens when you discard with other cards, like the Lelia and the Lelia Inti kind of combo is huge. So getting more redundancy for that set of cards is great. More 1-drops that just scale incredibly well is great. And being able to cash it in if you really don't want this or you want to trigger your other things, also pretty strong. So I'm a big fan of all these effects. Yeah, Smuggler's Copter, good friend for that. Yeah. This is something that I've been wanting to explore. I want to make a Rakdos I think there's a Rakdos mid-range version that might not play this card in it, but like that plays that type of card advantage, that card flow, the word that I used. And you know what? I'll say it. That I coined, card velocity. Cracking open a Diet Coca-Cola. Yeah. Yeah. Grippers? You mean flippers? All right, the shark is gone. The shark is gone. Warning, the shark is gone. Agonosaur Rex. 3 green for an 8/8 dinosaur with trample. And has cycling for 2 and a green. When you cycle this card, put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature or vehicle. It gains trample and indestructible until end of turn. I think this card will see play in monsters strategies. Not just because it's it being a 5-mana 8/8 trample is like whatever. As goofy as that sounds, whatever. I feel like this card is closer to something like Trumpeting Carnosaur in that having an activated ability that has a reasonable impact on the board, as well as cashing in itself, right? You can pay 3, discard this, draw a new card, uncounterably uncounterable, pump this creature, protect it from removal, push extra damage, whatever, is pretty huge. And then if you just draw it and you're like, oh shit, well here's a 5-mana 8/8 trample. Like there are some decks where playing this part of the card is going to be relevant, and there are some decks where playing this part of the card is going to be more relevant. Some decks might want both. They might want the fact that you could put a card into your graveyard doing this, and then you can reanimate it later. Or you put a card into your graveyard to do this, and then it's like, wait a minute, now I have Delirium. I think that's pretty cool. People are freaking out about a 5-mana 8/8 trample. And yeah, that is kind of wild for a card that has this mana cost. Right? Like, it feels like this should be 2 green, green, green. But also, this is just a big donkey. It's just a big donkey. It is kind of funny. Yeah, I will say the general reaction to like really large creatures is so funny. Because it's like, yeah, this is not what you need to worry about. Right? And it's always been that way. People are like, oh my God, look at the size of Mahmadi Jinn. And then it's just like, no, Swords to Plowshares is what you need to be worried about. Right? Earth Rumbler. It's not a playable card, but this one looks really good in foil, too. I don't think my favorite one is being previewed yet. Like my favorite foil version of these cards. But I'll let you know when it does. This card's not good, but Elvish Refueler. During your turn, as long as you haven't activated an exhaust ability this turn, you may activate exhaust abilities as though they haven't been activated. It's just really funny. Like, it's just, you haven't activated your exhaust ability. You can activate your exhaust ability as though your abilities haven't been activated and therefore exhausted. The end. Anyone running low? Yeah, it refuels your elves. My elves need kisses. Thunderous Velocipede. 1 green green for a 5/5 vehicle with trample. Each other vehicle and each creature you control enters with a 1/1 counter on it if its mana value is 4 or less. Otherwise, it enters with 3 additional 1/1 counters on it. I think this card might actually just be playable. Here's why. It is a big dumbass vehicle, right? It's just a big donkey, right? 3 mana 5/5 trampler, which does require the crew 3. But this line of text, I think, is pretty great. Like, the fact that you could just play this on curve and then go Questing Beast and hit them for 7, or that you can, I don't know, just you play this out, then you play like a 2-drop, and then you can immediately crew this. Like, you can go Dork, Velocipede, 2-drop with Fight Spell or Pump Spell, Protection Spell, whatever. And then smack. Oh, otherwise it gets 3. If mana value... Oh, 4 or less. My apologies. Not a Questing Beast. You would need to have, I don't know, Frog Hemoth or whatever. I still think this card's good. I think that, yeah, it's... Tribute to the World Tree is always a little awkward because the decks that play it are either like, well, I just want to have this value engine. Like the elf decks that want it in play to draw them some cards. That makes sense. But even then, in those decks, like, Tribute does not draw if it's a baby, right? It draws if you already have some like elf lords or whatever. And Tribute is a card that you kind of want to play in these big green stompy-ish decks for card flow, but I think you would rather just kill them. I don't know. I feel like I played Mono Green Stompy and Gladiator earlier in the year, and I was like, I want something like Tribute, but mostly just so that my mana dorks are threatening. You know? Yeah. I think this card's fine. It's a mythic too, so that's how you know they think it's like good. Venom Sack Lagak. Oh, I do like this card. I like the design of this card quite a bit. 1 and a green for a 2/1 Death Toucher. When this attacks while saddled, it gets +0/+2. Saddle for 2. Meaning it's just going to trade with something on blocks, but on attacks, they'll just trade with a one power creature, like a token, unless you saddle it up to push damage. Cool card. Cool common. Cool common. Onto gold. There's so many gold cards previewed. Holy hell. Atchik Emerald Radian. 3 black, black, and a green for a 3/3 legendary insect druid. When Atchik enters, create a 1/1 green insect token for each artifact and or creature card in your graveyard. Whenever another insect you control dies, put a 1/1 counter on Atchik. Each opponent loses 1 life. I mean, it's not playable in our formats, but it's kind of a cool Azoni. It's also it's a cool Azoni. It's a better Azoni in the sense of, like, you know, it's an insect, it makes insects, and it can also count for your, like, milled soul rings and talismans and whatever. And then when your little bugs are chump blocking, your main piece, she's getting so big. Getting so big. Cool commander. Cool commander. Huh. Smash. Apocalypse Runner. 2 black and a red for a 6/5 artifact vehicle. That has crew 3. And tap, target creature you control with power 2 or less gains lifelink until end of turn and can't be blocked. I gotta tell you, how the fuck do you get this ability out of this artwork and this name? Like, how do you... Like, I guess it's, right, it's going to be able to, like, yeah, it can bust through a barricade, or it has the, like, smuggling kind of vibe for Mad Max and whatever. But I don't know. It just feels a little like, this feels like the kind of thing where in Magic, the way that this ability is, like, represented is by, like, sneakily being like, okay, go in. Like, here you go. Right? Like, if you look at, here, I'm gonna pull this up on Scryfall. Creature, power 2 or less, can't be blocked. I guess it pops up on Break Through the Line. But you have, like, yeah, smuggling, like a shadowy backstreet kind of Oliver Twist style character, maybe, I don't know. Escape tunnel, you know, here, go through here, or I know this place very well. Oh, I'm tunneling through, I'm smuggling you in, right? Like, it feels very it's about being sneaky, it's about being precise, if you will. And this is just like, very funny. It's about being a special little guy. Boosted Sloop. Boosted Sloop. 1 blue and a red for a 3/3 menace. Whenever you attack, draw a card, then discard a card. And has crew 1. Notably, this does not say whenever this attacks. It's just whenever you attack. So even if you're not crewing this, it just hangs around and loots. And that's kind of cool. I think this card might be reasonable in, like, a Gladiator artifact deck. Because, like, yeah, it's just, hey, I got to attack, I get to draw and discard a card. That's pretty neat. Say it in a Surfer Cali accent. You want me to go full West Coast? Boosted Sloop. I cast my Boosted Sloop for 1 blue and a red. It's a 3/3 vehicle that has menace, but whenever I attack, I get to draw a card and then discard a card, and has crew 1. She boost on my sloop. Yeah. That templating is going to catch people. Dude, they boosted my sloop. Oh, fuck, man. They boosted my sloop, dude. Starting discourse about a non-gendered dude over boosted sloop. That's like West Coast erasure, dude. All right. Bright Glass Gear Hulk. Green, green, white, white for a 4/4 artifact creature construct. With first strike, trample, and when this creature enters, you may search your library for up to 2 artifact, creature, and or enchantment cards with mana value 1 or less. Reveal them and put them into your hand. It is kind of fucked up that this is a card that I may end up playing in Black Lotus decks. Like, the mana cost is a little tough to hit, but there are versions of eggs that are primarily banned. And so, great. I got a 4 mana, like, go with me on this journey. Think of all the things that this can find. Right? Ocelot Pride Guide of Souls. Sigardizade Colossus Hammer. It can find Black Lotus and LED. It can find Black Lotus and whatever, like a fucking Codex Shredder. It can find 2 Voltaic Keys. It can find Zurin Orb and Fast Bond. It can find Expedition Map and Candelabra. Like, this is messed up. Like, this is a wild collection of cards that this can find. The mana cost is a little prohibitive, but honestly, it's worth it. I think this card is really good. I think this card is really good. And it's just enters, right? Like, you could flicker this card, and that's kind of messed up. Cauldron Familiar and Viscera Seer. Yeah, why not? Why not? A 1-mana flicker card. In these categories, you can get what? Meticulous. You can get Mark of, what is it? Mark of Eviction. That's kind of funny. This is more of a commander thing. Mark of Eviction, 1 mana enchant creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, you return enchanted creature and all auras attached to it to its owner's hand. I'm going to try to do this in Commander, but Zurin Orb and the artifact that does a second sunrise. Oh, Gerard's Hourglass Pendant. Yeah, getting Black Lotus Walking Ballista is the big thing, I think. That's one of the bigger things, I guess I should say. Yeah, I think this card's really good. This card's incredible. And this is the first one that we'd seen, right? Like, we have seen this card and we'd known about this card for quite some time. So I got to imagine that the other ones are of comparable power level and flexibility, right? Right? Hello? Hello? Oh, yeah, I can find Shuko and Sylvan Safekeeper for Nadu or whatever. Oh, I haven't seen the alt art on this. I mean, sure, why not? Shark alert, shark alert. I repeat, we are about to talk about a shark. We are about to talk about a shark. Oh shit, it is Exodia. Oh, wait a minute. This motherfucker's about to obliterate? I mean, truthfully, if Exodia was in Magic the Gathering, this card would be able to find 2 pieces of Exodia, right? This bad boy's summoning up the leg of the Forbidden One. All right, we're about to talk about a shark. Nice name. Captain Howler Sea Scourge. 2 blue and a red for a 5/4 legendary creature. Shark Pirate. With Ward 2 and Pay 2 life. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, target creature gets +2/+0 Until end of turn for each card discarded this way. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, you draw a card? Wait, this card's fucked. So this is a card that if I have a 1-mana 1/1 and this card, and I cast Wheel of Fortune, I discard 5 cards and target creature gets +10/+0. And then when that card that now has +10/+0 deals combat damage to them, I draw a single card. But if I have, let's say, like a Psychic Frog in play and 2 1/1s, and I discard 2 cards to my frog, I can target each of these, and then when they both hit, I draw a card for each of them. This card might be good. This card might be really good. It has, this ward cost is fucked. 2 life and 2 mana is really tough to get with a Caracas or whatever. I think this card will see Gladiator play. I might even consider this for Canlander. Like, if there is a Grixis discard kind of deck, like Double Mox, Psychic Frog, Treasure Cruise, Reanimate, and then like Urza Saga as the points. And it's, you just have a bunch of these like Grixis kind of discarding cards, drawing cards, synergizing with cards, that kind of avenue. Wow. Yeah, this card hits like a fucking truck. Grixis Madness. Hell yeah. Okay. The sharks are gone. Well, I repeat, we are no longer talking about a shark. Okay. I'm not going to spoil anything as I read this card. All I'm going to say is I think everybody here is going to need to watch my Crack-a-Pack from the PPR. You're going to need to watch my Crack-a-Pack from the PPR. Caradora, Heart of Alacria. Also weird that she's from Alacria and does not have haste. 2 green and a white for a 4/2 legendary human knight. When Caradora enters, you may search your library for a mount or vehicle card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. If 1 or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature or a vehicle you control, that many are put on it +1 instead. It is a 4-drop that tutors up a card, which is kind of nice. That also has counter synergies, but it's also a 2 toughness 4-drop. So nope. It's just we talked about the green-white counters deck, and the only slot that's more competitive than the 2-drop slot, which is probably a good problem to have, is the 4-drop slot. And just like, buddy, it's a little late. It's a little late for the second ability. I may be stupid, but the PPR is pre-recorded? No, but we do pre-recorded segments during the PPR. So, for instance, we record Crack-a-Packs with members of the cast as well as guests that we bring in, or like Commander Deck Tech, or, you know, stuff like that. It gets pre-recorded, but everything else is live. Cloud Spire Coordinator. Is this what my Peloton instructor is going to look like? White and a red for a 3/1 human pilot. When this creature enters, you scry 2. Has a Friday Nights return been announced? I mean, where Friday Nights is coming back? Yes. Hello? Whole thing is poor recorded? Minor spelling mistake? The whole thing. Yeah, well, I should, in all honest, I should be honest with you. I should come clean. it's not pre-recorded, but it is scripted. We've taken a page out of the Game Nights playbook and have decided to script everything we do. I too missed the pool opening montage. This one, I imagine that will come back at some point in time, but it really is dependent on money, money and timing. 2-minute 3/1. When this creature enters Scry 2, tap create X 1/1 colorless pilot creature tokens, where X is the number of mounts and vehicles that enter the battlefield under your control this turn. The tokens have this token saddles, mounts, and cruise vehicles as though it has power where 2 or greater. Hold on. Angel, did you know about this? Did you know about this? It's time. It's time. We're so fucking back. We are so back. Veteran motorists just got a new tool. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Very exciting. I don't know. There could be a deck with a lot, like a Boros deck that has some number of artifacts or vehicles in there that wants this type of card. But yeah, Boros pilots. This art is wild. This one looks great in foil, by the way. But I'm going to pull up the normal one. Cloud Spire Sky Cycle. 2 red, white for a 2/3. It's unplayable. Cool art, though. Ooh. Far Fortune End Boss. 2 black and a red for a 4/5 legendary creature, Human Mercenary. Start your engines. Whenever you attack, Far Fortune deals 1 damage to each opponent. It's not unplayable. This card is unplayable. You interrupted me for that? Whenever you attack, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Max speed. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals that much damage +1. This sure is a 4-mana 4/5 without an ETB that all it really does is push 1 damage. Doesn't really take over the game by itself. Pretty easy to get max speed going with this card, but wow, this sure is not great. This ability is strong, but like again, 4-drops are so competitive. It's just not worth it. Even though it will more or less, if you have a creature, even if they have blockers, this will basically just get you to speed 2 immediately. Yeah, it's just total 1 damage. Whenever you attack, is just like, I'm going to declare attacker step, I've attacked, and then can't convince me it's not scripted when I win every die roll in Canlander. Pull the tape. Pull the tape. Pull the tape. It was just like
A fourth Araligma.
Nope. I'm now the guy that loses the die roll.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that loses the die roll. That's me.
It's over. Yeah.
I'm now the guy that loses.
Yeah, it's over.
Wait, I think I even tell people.
In this one.
Nope.
And I won the die roll.
I don't want to hear a goddamn.
Yeah, it's over. It's over. At this point. Yeah.
I'm now the guy that loses the die roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm the guy that loses the die roll. I'm the good guy. I'm the good guy. You should be cheering on for me. I'm the good guy. Was that last year? This was recorded in December. Yep. I think this was recorded in like December 20th or whatever. Oh yeah. Shark warning. Shark warning. We're about to talk about a shark. I repeat, shark warning. The good guy needs to emphasize that to the audience. Well, how else will these idiots know that I'm the good guy? I'm the good guy. Support me. I'm the good guy. Fearless Swashbuckler. I mean, out of all the sharks, this is a goofy shark. It's barely a shark. 1 blue and a red for a 3/3 fish pirate with haste. Vehicles you control have haste. And whenever you attack, if a pirate and a vehicle attack this combat, draw 3 cards and discard 2 cards. Yeah, it's a swordfish. It's barely... Our swordfishes aren't sharks. Right? I want... Swordfish sharks? Is a swordfish a shark? It's a species of billfish. All right, it's a billfish. It's not a Bill Clinton fish. Hillary. Yeah, it's not okay. Okay. False alarm, Angel. It is not a shark. It's a swordfish, which is a billfish, which is not a shark. Why did I just read a Forbes article title that just sounds like a bit I would make? Swordfish versus shark. What the heck? What the heck? What the heck? There's a swordfish versus a shark. All right, so this billfish, huh? Right, because sharks have creature type shark. This is just a fish. 3 mana, 3/3 haste. I will put this in pirates. Grixis Pirates just got a new tool, and it's the billfish. The dollar billfish. Dollar billfish over here is going to get into Grixis Pirates. But I think that's it. Maybe this card's actually a better version of that. What was the card called? The Booty Scoot? The Scooty Boot Sloop? Sloop Scooty Boot. You could play this card might be a bit more defensible in like a blue-red deck that has a bunch of artifacts or vehicles in the Scooty Sloop Boot. Like, I think this is better than that one, but maybe you play both. Scooby Doob Sloob. Why is this robot on another robot? Kanye West song? Boopity Scoop? Guidelight Pathmaker. Now we're playing Star Wars Unlimited. Oh, this is a 6-drop. It is a... Okay, so this is technically a 6-drop, but it does find Time Vault. It technically finds Time Vault. No, you don't tinker into this thing. Regord. It finds Time Vault. And puts it into play. Yup. It's basically Whir of Invention for Time Vault. Okay. Yeah, that card's not good. Ketramos the New Dawn. New Dawn, who's this? 1 white and a black for a 4/4 legendary creature god with menace, lifelink, and indestructible. Ketamine can't attack or block unless there are 7 or more cards in exile. Whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn, you draw a card and lose 1 life. 7 or more cards in exile is interesting because it counts both players. Meaning that, you know, you could just play Magic the Gathering and maybe get up to 7 cards in exile. This doesn't do anything to get more cards into exile, which is a bit awkward. Although in a world where people are playing the Abhorrent Oculus or Murderous Cut and Dig Through Time, like, yeah, you could get up to 7 or more cards. I'm just not that convinced that this is worth it. It is pretty dope with Ephemerate. And like, when it gets online, this card is really annoying. Like, it's really annoying. Yeah, the flickering draws cards. Like, maybe an Orzhov or Esper Flicker deck is playing this card. Because those are also the colors that can take advantage of some of the delve spells, right? I could see this card popping up in niche play, but I would be shocked if it sees like anything. Like, I don't think this card's Canlander playable. Because why does my 3-drop need other cards? Like, I guess, well, hold on. Like Emperor of Bones. Okay, my problem is this synergizes so well with a bunch of cards that you already want to be playing in these colors. It's just like so bad if you draw it without anything else going on. Like, not attacking, not blocking. Maybe if you also have like Ghost Vacuum in your deck or like some other ways of exiling cards, like maybe an Abzan. I don't know. I feel like I am going through the routine of like, as I think about more spots for this card showing up, I start to realize that fewer and fewer boxes are remaining unchecked, you know? Like, I'm thinking like, well, in a black-white deck, here are all the flicker kind of effects. Here are the cards that just exile things that will see play. And so, yeah, okay, I could see it in that style of deck. But what about, you know, moving beyond that? It's like, well, if we're playing green, you know, we're already on like Deathrite Shaman, but we could also be on something like Scavenging Ooze. We could also be something on something like Keen-Eyed Curator. Like, there are other exile effects that show up. It's like, okay, well, what about blue? Well, we talked about the delve synergies and also just more blink synergies once we open ourselves up to blue, which is pretty nice. Red, you know, you have Grim Lavamancer. In red, you have some other, like, Inti. I guess this is put into exile from graveyards. So, like, Inti doesn't work with the cards getting put into exile to trigger the second one, but filling up exile so Comatose over here can do something is kind of nice. Yeah, maybe I've changed my tune. Maybe this card's actually the best thing to be printed in this set. I wouldn't go that far. This I could see this card showing up. I think that it needs a little work, which is not something that you usually look for in Magic cards printed in 2025. But the fact that it can just cash in some cards and draw you some cards, although it's only your turn. Okay, tell you what. I'm going to come out with a much better take on this by the time the North 100 set review is done. But I think I like this. I certainly like this more than I did when I first read this card. I could see this card showing up. All right, you lost me. Why is this looks so cool? Like, this is like daunting. It's big. It's golden. It screams Orzhov, right? Like, you are like, oh shit. It's the Orzhov god. And then I see this, and then I'm like, I love Legends, dude. I freaking love Legends. Yeah, I love Legends. This is just a guy. Koladin Triumph Caster. White and a red for a 2/3 legendary human pilot. Mounts and vehicles you control have haste. Whenever a mount you control enters, it becomes saddled until end of turn. Whenever a vehicle you control enters, it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Okay, this is a commander for your commander deck built around a commander thing. This is just a guy. This is dope art, but it's also just a guy. This is just a guy. I'm pretty sure I worked with this guy. What's he pointing at? Nothing. He's number 1. Number 1, baby. In other news, here's another just a guy. Lagarin, Soul of Alacria. 2 mana 1/1 flying legendary creature beast mount. With whenever Lagarin attacks while saddled, put a 1/1 counter on up to each of on each of up to 2 target mounts and or vehicles, and has saddle 1. You know, yeah, it's the what's it called? The fucking Boopa Doop. What was her name? Speed Girl. Car Dorothy. This is Car Dorothy's bat, and I gotta tell you, I think I'm more interested in building Car Dorothy, or I'm more interested in building this than Car Dorothy. Like, I think this is a cooler commander if I'm building a mounts and vehicles deck. Like, I get that Car Dorothy tutors up a vehicle or whatever. Like, maybe, actually, hold on, I changed my mind. Maybe Car Dorothy is better because if I were... Excuse me, hold on. Actually, let me find this. I feel like this already exists. Like, don't we already have a legend that cares about, like, a green-white legend that's a mount legend? But maybe that one is only... Hi, Mulder. Maybe that one's only mounts? I thought Miriam Herd Whisperer. 2 mana 3/2. As long as it's your turn, mounts and vehicles you control have hexproof. Whenever a mount or vehicle you control attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. Okay, so we already have received this legend. I see. Also, yeah, wasn't there another one? I thought there was another one. Another like green-white one, or maybe it was a bigger one. Anyways, the point is, it feels like we've already gotten these kind of cards, gotten the style card. Maybe Miriam is more interesting, but now it's like, if I'm playing this instead of Car Dorothy, it feels kind of bad because obviously you play Car Dorothy to get out Lagarin. Like, I feel like you play Car Dorothy as your commander, but your secret commander is Lagarin. Hi. Oh, baby. The 1 mana Chungus in black? Which one? I'm going to talk about the other cards that we've seen. Oh, I hate this thing so much. Loot the Pathfinder. 2 green, blue, and a red for a 2/4 legendary creature Beast Noble. Double strike, vigilance, and haste that has exhaust for green, tap, add 3 mana of any one color. Exhaust for blue, tap, draw 3 cards, and exhaust for red, tap, loot, deals 3 damage to any target. It's probably pretty good in like an Agatha's Soul Cauldron style deck. Also good in... Oh, this just goes infinite with Food Chain, right? Does this goes infinite with Food Chain? This is like a Food Chain commander? I gotta tell you, I'm not saying that everybody that likes loot is being contrarian, but it does feel like a lot of people that like loot are being contrarian. Or it feels like you would like anything with ears like this that got plopped in front of you. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm not a fan of this character. I don't need to keep going. Can't use Food Chain to activate the abilities? No, I know that, but you play this, activate it, add 3, exile it to Food Chain, and now you have 10 mana, right? Or 9 mana, excuse me. You have 9 mana, and then you get to replay this for 7 and activate for a green, and then Food Chain. Yeah. Yeah. Cool card with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Cool card with Food Chain. I don't think I want to play this magic card, though. Mendicant Core Guide Light. White and a blue for a star 3 legendary artifact creature robot. Mendicant Core's power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. With Start Your Engines. Max speed. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you may pay 1. If you do, copy it. This card is great. Oh, also, I think... Did I get a text message from Mulder Meds? Nope. Where'd she go? Yeah, I like this card a lot. In an artifact deck, you just get a 2 mana 4/3, 2 mana 5/3 or whatever. Artifact decks are pretty good at pecking your opponent with Thopters or Servos, or just, you know, sneaking some damage in here and there. And then when you hit max speed, this card just wins the game. Like, it's just max speed with this card in play, and you're like, I'll cast Kappa Cannoneer and copy it. I'll cast Cranial Plating and copy it. I'll cast Nettle Cyst, copy it. Even just casting like a Mox and copying it more or less just pays for itself. Like, that seems pretty dope. That seems pretty dope. Yeah, I like this card. I like this card because it's very specifically for this kind of deck. And in that kind of deck, it's going to be good. And that's it. We could just stop the conversation there. It's like, you're not playing this in a deck that doesn't have a shitload of artifacts. And that's okay. Great card. What do I think about Start Your Engines? I don't hate it. It's a little bit of a nothing mechanic for me. Oh, hell yeah. Evangelion. Oil Deep Gear Hulk. Blue, black for a 4/4 artifact creature construct with lifelink and ward 1. When this creature enters, look at target player's hand. You may choose a card from it. If you do, that player discards that card and then draws a card. So this is it's not that bad of a card. 4 mana 4/4 lifelink ward 1. Annoying if it sticks around. Gains you a bunch of life, blocks well, attacks well. And you could have it ETB and muck your opponent's like ability to deal with this card even more. You can cash in your own card. You can hit lands, which is shockingly relevant. Like Vendilion Clique can't hit lands. Pretty sure Curtains can't hit lands either. Yeah, Curtains can't hit lands. So being able to hit lands is kind of neat. They draw a card. No, I know. That's fine. I'm going to get the best card in their hand, and then they get a random card. But you can also target yourself. So you can cash in your own land, which is the thing Clique couldn't do, which is pretty miserable. I don't think this card is going to see much play in Canadian Highlander. Maybe a little bit in like exactly a black-blue deck. But I could see this card showing up in Gladiator when you can cast it. Like just like a black-blue mid-range or like a 3-color mid-range deck that can at least meet these mana costs. I could see it showing up. Yeah. You could pod into it. This is what the normal artwork looks like. It's pretty good. I like the Gear Hulks. I think Gear Hulks as a whole, like conceptually, I think they're pretty strong. Like they're fan favorites. Think about it. Literally. Oh wait, 1 second. Yeah, you have what's this? I need to give my Mulder a brush. I think that the Gear Hulks are very cool. I think that all the Gear Hulks have seen play, like all the original Gear Hulks saw play in Standard or Constructed at some point in time. All of them are pretty popular cards for Commander as well. I think they just kind of knocked it out of the park, you know? Pyrewood Gear Hulk. Oh, this is are they stanced up like Gunbuster? Yeah. I feel like this is a They kind of look like they're, like a getter robo kind of thing. They kind of look like they're standing like this. It's hard to tell. I'm going to look at the normal one. Pyrowood Gearhulk, 2 red, red, green, green for a 7/7 artifact creature construct with vigilance and menace. And when this creature enters, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance and menace until end of turn. Damage can't be prevented this turn. I think this card's good. I think this card's pretty good. If you're in a format with the One Ring running about, being able to natural order or even Eldritch Evolution into this, because this is a totally, or just fucking cast it. You're a deck with Moxen, Gaia's Cradle, whatever. Like, you can cast this card. It hits play, says can't prevent this, and then smacks everybody for a bunch. And then it leaves around a 7/7 Vigilance Menace after this, if this didn't kill them. Excuse me. Yeah. I think this card's pretty good. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. The fact that it is just like castable seems reasonable. It is more expensive than the ones that have been officially previewed. It is more expensive than the ones that have been officially previewed. But also it's green. So, you know. I think this card's pretty good. Just Eldritch Evolution into it. Natural Order into it. We don't need to talk about this. Redshift Rocketeer Chief. Red and a green for a 2/3 legendary goblin pilot with vigilance. Don't like that. Tap, add X mana of any one color where X is Redshift's power. Spend this mana only to activate abilities. And has exhaust for 10 red and a green. Put any number of permanents from your hand onto the battlefield. I really don't like that this has vigilance. I get why it has vigilance, because it's like, well, you get to play your pump spells and hit them, and then you get to tap this and activate it, and then put in a bunch of other things. Like, I get that. But also, what about this card screams vigilance? What about this card? What about red-green aggressive 2-drop screams vigilance? It feels a little off. It feels like... Also just doesn't feel... It doesn't feel like you need it. Right? Like, I don't know. It feels very odd to me. We have received cards with vigilance in Gruul, but like that Gearhulk also has vigilance. I don't know. It just feels like I liked when vigilance has shown up in Gruul. If it's on legendary creatures, this is admittedly a legend. If it's on legendary creatures, those are legendary creatures. It's like on Samut, all right? Like vigilance on Samut, I'll buy into that. Vigilance on Rurik Thar, I'll also buy into that. Because one head's doing the attacking, the other head's doing the blocking, right? Like, that makes sense. Just feels... Vigilance on loot? Yeah, but blues and vigilance. I don't know. Just feels a little weird. This does not scream. It's a fucking goblin driving a car without a seatbelt, mind you. Screaming, shooting a bunch of rockets with a giant rocket propelling it. Vigilance. Like what? It's just very funny to me to think about like what vigilance used to kind of represent, you know? Like I'm looking at vigilant creatures and we have like, this is a angel that watches over a group of people. This is a detective that protects a certain part of the city. This is a dragon that is literally a strategist. Like, you know, this is an animal that is a very defensive animal. Right? And then we have this. Very weird. Rob back for the 67th month. Oh shit, what up? How you doing? How you been? Thank you so much for all the support. Hope you're doing well. Glad to have you and good to see you. Thank you so much for the support. Rocketeer Boost Buggy. Green and a red for a 3/2 artifact creature vehicle. Whenever this vehicle attacks, create a treasure token. Has exhaust 3. Put 3. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature. Put a 1/1 counter on it. That is permanent, by the way. And crew 1. I think this card's good. I think this card is more likely to see Gladiator play than Canlander play. But honestly, this card could show up in a Canlander deck. Like that Jund Scraps deck that I played earlier in the week. Like I could see that deck taking more of an artifact kind of turn and wanting to play this. It's an artifact that when it attacks, it makes another artifact, and you can permanently make it a bigger artifact, but also crew 1 is the lowest crew cost available. Like this all seems pretty good. So I'm not like, yo, this card is fucked. It's going to ruin the game. It's going to take over everything. But it's, you know, it does something at a low cost, and it's pretty good. Why are all 2-drops 2/3s or 3/2s? I know why. Yeah. Yeah. Holy shit. Okay. Sabsunin Luxa Embodied. 3 green and a blue for a 6/6 legendary god with reach, trample, and indestructible. What? No, it's the coffee is the oh wow. Reach, trample, indestructible. Sabsunin can't attack or block unless it has an even number of counters on it.
Eggs, E-double-G-S eggs.
At the beginning of first main phase, put a 1/1 counter on Sabsunin. Then, if it has an odd number of counters on it, draw 2 cards. So she hits play. She can block that turn as an indestructible big dork. Next turn, she gets a 1/1 counter on her, and then you draw 2 extra cards. But she can't attack or block unless you somehow put additional counters on her. Very doable. Or remove that counter. A little harder to do. I see a 5-mana card that I imagine could see some niche Gladiator play in like a ramp deck. Because it's just so big. And like, it's just going to draw me some card. It's going to hold down the fort for a turn and then draw me some cards and then hit them for 8. And that seems kind of good. That seems kind of cool. It's not the first card I would go to. Like, it's not the first card I would go to putting into my deck. But the other cards that I'm thinking about that serve a similar-ish purpose are all white. And so maybe there's some added benefit to this just being blue-green, you know? Yeah, I'll need to think about this one as well. The gods are going to be a little tougher in evaluation because people, they tend to fall under the camps of people look at them and they're like, oh my god, it's a fucking unbelievable. And you're like, well, what about you got to do things to get this to be a creature first. And people are like, who cares? It's going to happen. Or people look at it and they're like, oh, this is unplayable. It doesn't do the thing immediately all the time. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's just like the rate on everything that it does is just so high, right? So my inclination is that it may see niche Gladiator play. I'm interested in playing it in Gladiator. And yeah, it's what do you want to say? It's a thick frog. I do wish that we talked about this earlier in the week. I kind of wish they went when people were talking about this frog, they're like, Ben, have you seen this frog? Ben, you got to look at this frog. They made a thick frog. And I was like, okay, this is up my interest. You know, this is up my alley here. I kind of wish she was thicker. I kind of wish she was bigger. Like, Magic, much like depicting characters with disabilities, they really need to go harder on fat characters, especially if she's like a fertility goddess style character, right? Like, she is supposed to represent the Luxa, which is the river, which lets everybody live, right? Supposed to kind of like be a counterpart to like the Nile of like we can only survive here. We can only survive because of this thing, right? I'm just saying, like, and I'm not even saying she needs bigger boobs or hips or anything. I'm not trying to like sexualize her. That can come along with that because that's just how people can look. But like, I don't know. Make her bigger. We need our frog god to be larger, you know? Like, if you're gonna give me a frog fertility goddess, like, maybe make her a little bit wider. You know what I'm saying? She gets thick as the Luxa floods. All right, I'm closing this. This version of the art is pretty funny because it's just the giant dad, right? She's doing the what are you not into, or what is it? Well, what is it? I think that's the name of the emote. Well, what is it? She's doing giant dad. Yeah, just make her fat. I mean, she's you know, not skinny by any means, but I don't know. It would be cool if Wizards decided that they could depict fat women. But no, they're too busy printing out fucking Genshin Impact art. They're going through the Riot Games category. Fat people. I mean, they do depict fat men a lot more often than fat women. Like, they need to up their game as a whole, but fat women especially are depicted in very negative circumstances. They're either depicted under incredibly negative circumstances, or they are depicted as being fetishized, right? Like, that's not great. That's pretty terrible. What are we talking about? Samut, the hippos. Samut, the driving force. 3 red, green, and a white for a 4/5 legendary human warrior cleric. With first strike, vigilance, haste. Start your engines. Other creatures you control get +X/+0, where X is your speed. Non-creature spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is your speed. I really like Samut. I actually like the Samut cards that they have made. I don't necessarily like this card. Like, it is a 6 mana creature. Not to bring it up, but I mean, not to Voja post on main, but maybe I should. Okay, I gotta find who previewed this on Blue Sky. Samut. I found them. I'm just gonna quote tweet this with a fucking picture of Voja. Yeah, I don't know. I really like Samut as a character. Oh, Silent Soul, you posted the Rathu. God, seeing Rathu spin so quickly. Yeah, cool commander card. Very cool commander card. Sita Varma, Masked Racer. Is this supposed to be like Racer X? Is this the Racer X of the set? Or is it Like it that's what it is, right? Chandra's supposed to be speed, and this is supposed to be Racer X or whatever. Blue and a green for a 2/3 legendary creature human rogue with exhaust X green green blue. Put X 1/1 counters on Seat of Arma. Then you may have the base power and toughness of each other creature you control become equal to Seat of Arma's power until end of turn. Okay. Is it PNLR? No way. It can't be. Is it a known character? Like, is her name actual Seat of Arma? It's not another character. She's new. I mean, she looks kind of cool. I like her design. This has big Akira Toriyama vibes. Yeah, she's got cool design. Cool. YA Pro Tag Energy? That can't be true. I don't hate her immediately. She looks cool. On the other hand, Winter Cursed Rider. Blue and a black for a 3/2 legendary creature, human warlock with ward, pay 2 life. Artifacts you control have ward, pay 2 life. And exhaust for 2 blue and a black. Tap, exile X artifact cards from your graveyard. Each other non-artifact creature gets -X/-X until end of turn. Very weird card. Very weird card. Yeah, I was about to ask that, Wormy. Why is this card Demir? I thought this card was Junt. What happened in that house? Don't tell me. He went from Jun to Golgari. Oh, in the Commander product? Is this our new Kellen? Please don't make him the new Kellen. I don't want to look at fucking Robert Smith the entire time. I mean, I guess this looks less like Robert Smith than the other one. He's dead? Kellen's dead? This just does not look like the same character. Like, at all. Winter's dead, but he's a human warlock. Doesn't say he's dead here. Ah, whatever. I don't know. I'm asking out of genuine curiosity, but I don't think what I'm going to do with that information is going to be too popular. Garrick, Predator of Scrubs, back for the 69th month. Frog Mom, Frog Mom, Frog Mom. Yeah. 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 God, these yellow cards. They really do not look good. In person as well. Full disclosure. They do not look great. Some look better than others, admittedly. I think as a whole they don't look great. But like these Gear Hulks just, it feels unnecessary. Why'd they pick yellow? Yellow is fast. The NDA? I'm thinking about the NDA. I'm not saying shit. Zahir, Glory's Past. Black and white for a 3/2. Legendary Zombie Cat Warrior. Start your engines. If you have no speed, it starts at 1, increase, yada yada. Sack another creature, surveil 1, activate only once each turn. And max speed, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a tap 2/2 black zombie token. I think this card's okay. You don't include this card thinking that it is a sack outlet the same way something like Carrion Feeder or Visara Seer would fill, right? This card has a relevant stat line. You can't just sack your entire board. And this is only other creatures, so you can't sacrifice itself either. That said, you can do it on their turn as well. Aristocrats is an archetype that is pretty good at pecking away at your opponent's life total. Surveil 1 is much better than Scry 1 for this type of deck. And then you can only do it once per turn. Don't get the reference. You mentioned Pinkerton Agents, and Weezer is a band that has an album called Pinkerton, and the lead singer of Weezer is Rivers Cuomo. That's the reference. Yeah, it's being able to do this in your upkeep as well. It's only during your turn, but you can do it whenever you want during your turn is kind of nice. And then hitting max speed, you get to start doing some pretty busted things. I think this card is going to be good. I am a little curious about playing this card in Canlander. Certainly reasonable for Gladiator. But yeah, the once per turn, maybe it's fine because it's another card that fits into the line of effects that you're looking for, but it actually has like a stat line, which is kind of neat. Is Weezer old people music at this point? I think Weezer, I heard about Zoomers liking Weezer. Weezer is classic rock. Weezer was like, was Weezer 2000? No, Weezer was 90s music, right? Like Blue Album came out in what, 95? 94. Think about that. The Blue Album came out only a couple years after after Nevermind. Pinkerton's their best album. See, that was the take for the longest time. I used to believe that. I think Blue Album is just their best album. Because I don't think Weezer's a band I go to for anything that's too heady. You know? Like, I want to listen to if I'm listening to Weezer, it's because I'm going, if you want to destroy my sweater, or like, say it ain't so, oh, oh. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, they're sing-along. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Anywho. Lifecraft Engine. 3-mana artifact. It's a 4/4. It's a vehicle. As this vehicle enters, you choose a creature type. Vehicle creatures you control are the chosen creature type in addition to karaoke music. God, that's such a scathing description. Holy shit. Vehicles are that creature type in addition to their other types. Each creature of the chosen type other than this vehicle gets +1/+1. Sure, why not? It's an anthem. It's a 3-mana anthem. You get your damn hands up. Although that's not Weezer, that's Good Charlotte. Yeah, why not? Put it in your commander deck, I guess, or don't. I don't know. Sure, you could do whatever. Market Back Walker. XX for a 0/0 artifact creature construct. This creature enters with X 1/1 counters on it. Pay 4 generic, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. And when this creature dies, you draw a card for each 1/1 counter on it. I'm going to come out of the gates and say I like this card. I'm interested in playing this card in decks that care about artifacts and decks that care about +1/+1 counters. I think that's pretty good. My issue with this is that it calls out Hangerback Walker, which is true in its mana cost and its ability triggering off of it dying. But then it's got Walking Ballista, like Walking Ballista activated cost here, which is another XX card that people think about, right? And I guess this has Walker, like Walking Ballista, but Hangerback Walker already has Walker in its name. And I'm not saying this should have pay 1, tap, put a counter on it. But it just feels a little like, I don't know. I look at this card and I'm like, oh, I understand what it's all referencing. But it does feel like it's getting a little bit too much of its peanut butter and its chocolate here. And like, maybe I would change the name, you know? Like if you just called it like Walking Market Back or whatever. I don't know. I really like this card. I think it looks cool. I like all the text on it. It's just, there's just a little bit of me where I'm like, Walking Market. Yeah, that would have been fine. Anywho. The Aether Spark. 4 mana, 4 loyalty, legendary artifact, planeswalker equipment. Are we just turning into Transformers now? Oh my god, it's Hasbro. They're just trying to Hasbro this is the Allspark. Are we getting Rodimus Prime next set? As long as the Aether Spark is attached to a creature, the Aether Spark can't be attacked and has, whenever equipped creature deals combat damage during your turn, put that many loyalty counters on the Aether Spark. +1 loyalty. Attach the Aether Spark to up to 1 target creature you control. Put a 1/1 counter on that creature. -5. Draw 2 cards. -10. Add 10 mana of any one color. My first impression is this card is bad. But I can see play patterns where playing this card on turn 4 or on turn 3 and getting 2 hits in with it can lead to some wildly explosive turns. Like, I don't think you can just completely ignore this card, right? Because at the very least, it does something incredibly unique. And putting that many loyalty counters on it is kind of nice. Like, I could see that, like, you could just protect this card pretty easily. And 10 mana, like, that can just lead to a turn that ends the game. I don't know. I'm looking at this card and I'm thinking about how it has a way to protect itself. It has a way to increment the creature that it's attached to. And like, I could see this card getting up to 10 after 2 hits. Like, you play this, you attach it to something, it gets bigger, you're now winning the board, you get to smack them, and you put like 3 to 4 loyalty counters on this card. And then you get to hit them again, and then you get up to 10, and then you pop off. Or then you use your turn to clear the way, like kill out some creatures, hit them, draw cards, like refuel sort of thing, right? Like, I hit them, I put a bunch of loyalty counters on this thing. Like, it goes up to 7 loyalty or whatever. Then my opponent's like, well, I'm going to play out some creatures on the board. And then you're like, okay, well, now I'm going to use -5 to draw 2 cards. Oh, I've drawn removal or ways of pushing more combat damage. I'm going to push combat damage. Thus getting this card up to, like, I don't know, we said it, let's say +3, so it was at 7, then we went to 2, and then now I'm hitting them for another 3, then we go up to 5. Oh, it wouldn't even be 7, it would be 8 because this is a +1. So we'd go up to 6, and then we draw 2 more cards. 4 mana, push for a bunch of damage, draw 4 cards. Have it stick around, be annoying. I don't know. I could see this seeing play. I'm going to give this a shot in both Gladiator and Canadian Highlander. Like, I think this has some niche application. You already need to be committed to the equipment part or the artifact part. I don't think you can just slide this into any creature deck, but I think this card might be better than it looks. Yeah, I think this card is a little bit better than it looks. Which is a weird thing to say about a card that I'm sure people are going to look at and be like, oh my god, it said they put a planeswalker. The planewalker gets the loyalty. And you're like, yes, So yeah. It just, yeah, creature deals combat damage during your turn. You can just run it into their creature. Amonkhet Raceway. Those are some nasty hippos. Land. Start your engines. Tap. Add 1 colorless mana. Max speed. Tap. Target creature gains haste until end of turn. I could genuinely see this as a utility card in like a 2-color artifact deck. Or even in a monocolored aggressive strategy. Like, think of how fucked up Arena of Glory is. Arena of Glory is fucked up for different reasons, and obviously this is mana negative on that. But, yeah. I could see this showing up maybe in as like a niche utility land. Kind of wish it was a desert, though. No, this one's bad. The Verges are back. We now have enemy Verges of the cycle that was in Duskborn. The Verges have been pretty good. I really like the Verges. The blue-white one, the blue-black one, and the red-green one are the ones that have popped up the most. Actually, that's not even true. The black-red one's good. Basically everything except for green-white. And that's okay. Green-white one's also just like not the worst thing in the world. This one's these are a little particular. So Bleachbone Verge, I kind of like because it means it gets the Hymn to Torak mana, lets you Thoughtseize on 1 or whatever. But also Swords to Plowshares later. Did they please tell me you previewed the other ones? Okay, they did. I'm going to go through all of these before I talk about the other ones. I don't think there are actually any other lands here that I want to talk about. Other than the country roads take me home to a place where I was born or belong. West Virginia! No, I'll talk about the Soul Land. Belong? I don't know. You couldn't catch me singing about West Virginia. Unless we were talking about something else. Yeah, I guess I'll talk about Muragonda Raceway. Start your engines, tap add a colorless, has max speed, tap add 2. That's a bit. It's just like by the time this becomes relevant, maybe these don't line up. This isn't like Temple of the False God or whatever. It was written about the western part of Virginia, not West Virginia. I fucking hate the United States of America. I learned about your Virginias and I learned about your Carolinas. I know where to show. I can tell you every state in the goddamn union. And then these fuckers are like, actually, it's the Midwest, even though it's right in the middle of the goddamn country. Actually, it's considered the South, even though it's more north than most of California. Actually... Mideast West Virginia. It's West Virginia lowercase w. Fuck. All right. Yeah, I don't think this jives well. It's not like Temple of the False God. The decks that want to get this boost at this stage of the game aren't able to start your engines cooking up. A British Columbian? That's exactly why I can throw the stone. My house is also fucked. I am doing it because I know how fucked it is. River Pyre Verge. This one's a little tricky, but I think it's okay because adding red means that on turn 1, you can't cantrip on 1 or keep up the 1 mana counters, but you can go River Pyre Verge, bolt your threat, untap, play an island, hold up counterspell, which is a pretty common play pattern that happens, right? Or I'm like, play my land pass, you take your turn, I bolt it, I untap, play a land, now I can counterspell. And that's pretty good. Is he surfing on the lava? I hope he falls in. Actually, that kind of that kind of talking point is low-key fashy. Sunbillow Verge taps out a white and then adds a red on the splash. Yeah, I think this is fine. Boris's mana is so bad that they'll take anything. Like, there's less of an analysis to have about which mana you can initially add. For that one, it's just like, sure, I guess I need the thing. This one's the way to do it. The black-green one. Because always adding green on 1 means that you get to play your mana dorks, but also adding black when you play your next land means that you can mana dork into Hymn to Torak, or you can mana dork into like one of the Lilianas or something like that. That one's pretty good. And then the Willow Rush Verge. This one's kind of interesting. I mean, typically in the mana dork decks, you're not playing counter spells, and so this but there are certain Sultai decks where like you will want the green early on. So maybe not every blue-green or blue-green X deck plays this, but there are certain blue-green X decks that can play this because they're like, yeah, I just want counter spells, and then I want to be able to Oko or Nadu or something. Don't understand the Lewd Hades, a little guy. Yeah, but we didn't ask for this little guy. It's a little guy that showed up and they're like, hey, everybody, it's little guy. It's the fucking Smormu thing from Smiling Friends, or somebody called it Jar Jar Binks and it was like, yes, yes. Okay, I have to call it there because I have to go get my hair cut. And a beard trim. I'm getting my first professional beard trim. Getting it done. So this was a shorter little stream, but that's okay because we are going to have more time for talking about previews. These preview streams, I kind of they've changed up the flow of which previews are kind of given to us, and so the next stream is going to be Saturday because I'm taking tomorrow off. Oh no, I'm not streaming on Saturday because I have to do some prep for the Canadian Highlander year-end tournament. But yeah, there's I'll be it'll be out when it's out. The Canadian Highlander year-end tournament. On that note, I will give folks a reminder here. Of course, I deleted the image that was there was the image. It was on the screen here. There are other cards to talk about. We'll get to them when we get to them. The Canadian Highlander year-end tournament is going to be on Sunday, January 26th, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun or youtube.com/loadingreadyrun. It's going to have myself and Trenton on commentary, as well as Serge and Robin Sorensen. Going to be broadcasting Canadian Highlander all day, baby. All day. So please tune into that. It'll be a good watch. Let me drop you kids off somewhere. I am getting all of my hairs cut. Gosh. Gosh, Max, I'm choking on my own is anybody streaming? Who do I know that's streaming? There's probably like a Surge. Hey, who wants to go watch Magic the Gathering? You fuckers like Magic the Gathering, right? You haven't seen Canlander? You should watch some Canadian Highlander. It's fun. You fuckers like Magic the Gathering, right? Well, go watch some more, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye. Love you.